my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and welcome to the show. We are experiencing some good stuff here. As you guys know, this is our first day back on 96.9 FM here in Chattanooga, and had a little theme song here just for my listeners out there. Do you guys remember this old good one? The old TV show, Welcome Back, Carter.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
After 3 years, Nooga Radio went under, and Destiny Media, the original owner, took back the station and said, "Hey, Mesa, would you like to come back to Chattanooga 96.9 FM?" And I said, "Of course I would." So it's new management, new leadership. It's all Christian and new stuff coming. So welcome back. I am glad to be back. Now, as we get started here, a couple of things are happening I think a lot of us are aware of. And where do you start? Where do you start? I thought one that's dear to my heart is the police officers. As you may know, there was an attack here. Let's check this out.
Three members of a U.S. Marshals task force and a Charlotte police officer were killed as they attempted to serve a warrant to a convicted felon. For several hours Monday, the community remained in the grip of a very tense and dangerous situation. CBN's George Thomas has the details.
It's the whole force coming.
It was one of the deadliest attacks on U.S. law enforcement in decades. 8 officers shot, 4 of them died.
It was like pow, 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 pow. And then by the time I could turn in, pow, 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 pow.
Monday afternoon near Charlotte, North Carolina.
You just said 4 cops got shot. Yeah, they did. Oh my.
Officers with the U.S. Marshals Service task force attempting to arrest a felon wanted for illegally possessing a firearm encountered the suspect in his front yard with a gun.
Shots fired at officer, possibly 1 down. Correction, 2 down, subjects barricaded themselves.
When they approached that individual, they were met with gunfire. Officers returned gunfire and struck the victim.
As officers moved closer to the house, they encountered more gunfire.
As officers approached that individual, they then received additional gunfire from inside of the residence.
Police immediately cordoned off the area just east of Charlotte, deploying SWAT teams, police helicopters, and a swarm of local law enforcement.
And as you probably know the story, there were officers killed. And this is sad. My father was a federal agent and gave 30 some years. Now he's been retired over 20. He says things has changed when he was serving. But regardless of the fact, when an officer, federal or local, goes down, I just want to pay respects. Let the nation know we should pray for the families and set aside any petty differences you might have. I know some people have some ill will towards law enforcement. I have not walked in your shoes, so I'm not going to try to beat you up over that. But I would like us to remember that this was sad, and the thing that it reopens the debate about gun control. Everybody wants to take out the guns. You know, hey, because of this, we have to end gun control. And I just want to remind you that that's not the answer. That's not the solution. If you guys remember, the guy that everyone knows is David Hogg. He's known for being the guy that stands up against, or tries to take away the guns and all that. And many of us realize he's not going to be successful. But he tries, and he got met with a very strong, opinionated lady. And you may have seen the clip or heard it. I've played it before, but I thought I'd play it again. He's really kind of met his match, if you will, because if you think about this, not many folks can handle the fact that guns are not illegal. Now, I'm a gun owner. I've teasingly said before, I think most of us in the South have cousins related to Smith and Wesson. I was raised with guns. I was taught how to handle guns, how to go hunting. Many of us have. And it's not just the South, a lot out west and people in the North. Guns are not the enemy. It's like blaming being fat on the fork. It's that fork's fault. If it hadn't been for the fork, I wouldn't be fat. You with me? The gun is only bad when it's in the hands of a bad person. I know that's hard for folks to believe, so you think, well, we've got to get guns off the street so the bad guys can't get hold of them. Well, what about the good guys? What about the people that know how to handle a gun? What about the people that use them for good reason and at times have intervened for good reason? Now, here in Tennessee, Governor Lee signs an executive order to enhance steps for buying a gun. A lot of folks didn't like this. It was a red flag law, and here's a little bit about that.
Action today from Governor Bill Lee targeting gun rules in the state. The governor signed an executive order calling for stronger background checks to buy a gun. The governor is also asking lawmakers to pass stronger laws involving orders of protection.
Now, the thing that bothered some folks is he chose to use an executive order because the Republican, he's a Republican governor if you're listening from another state. I think he knew the Republicans themselves would not back this, so he did an executive order. He did this as a way of calming people down because we had the transgender that killed people there in Nashville at the school. And then they tried to paint the transgender as the victim, which to me is insane. You know, that goes to show you how far the left's gone. It's the gun's fault. And then when someone that fits their narrative of society somehow gets involved in a gunfight and well, somehow it's not that person's fault. That's this blame shifting game is weird. I agree. I thought Governor Lee, I think he was trying to maybe calm down the people. I don't appreciate him making it harder for the good people. But this is something Governor Lee did. It was good. News Nation covers this and see what you think. Teachers now in Tennessee can pack guns.
Lee has signed a bill permitting teachers to carry guns in schools. This legislation requires teachers to meet specific criteria, and it aims to enhance school safety, especially in rural areas where law enforcement response times can often be slow.
Especially in rural areas where response times can be slow. Because a lot of times you got to remember something, my friend, and if someone wants to do harm, most of the time any criminal with any salt is going to canvass or survey the situation. And if you really have got a desire, a death wish to kill others and be killed as a martyr for your cause, you go for what they call soft targets. Schools are soft targets. College campuses, high school, middle school, elementary schools. And to only provide a campus at best what they call a resource officer. Maybe if it's big enough, 2 resource officers with 1 gun each. If you have some wackadoodles that decide, hey, we're going to go take a bunch of guns in and do damage and kill people, from Columbine High School back years ago when I was a youth pastor till now, all these shootings, they were soft targets. They got into schools, and we don't know what makes these kids become demented and desiring to kill others, but it happens. But imagine if those same kids knew, you know what, if I go to school tomorrow with a gun, I don't know how many, but there's teachers up there that are packing. It's going to make them think twice. It's going to have to use that, if you want to call it strategy mentality, go, you know, maybe the school's not the soft target. Maybe that's not the best place to go be an idiot. Savvy? And I believe that's where, if you would just think logically, I know it's hard if you've been trained that you think all guns are bad and gun owners are bad. Because the sad thing about liberals, I feel sorry for, you guys can't listen. You have to do all the talking. And if someone tries to bring a different opinion, you feel, oh, if I yell, blow whistles, or scream, somehow I'm going to win the argument. No, you just make nice people on the conservative side just back away and think, one, you're wackadoodle, and it makes us even more determined not to agree with you. What makes things better is when you sit down and have conversations. You say, okay, now, you've talked for 10 minutes. I'm going to ask you to give me 10, okay? Let's be fair about this. And that's really hard because liberals have been trained to interrupt, be engaged, be loud, and be disruptive. Not all, but majority of them. And these students have shown that on these campuses, and we'll get to that later in the show. But a gun permit, background check, mental health evaluation, and a 40 hours of training annually. I think this is very reasonable for teachers. And I appreciate Governor Lee making an opportunity for teachers to defend themselves. It's already a very low-paying job being a teacher. It's definitely, you're up for such criticism now. Whether you're a conservative or liberal teacher, my hat's off to you because that's a tough career path. And you're dealing constantly with criticism from both sides. Teachers have gotten so much into the political system. Now, personally, if I was president for a day, I would disband all teachers' unions because they don't represent you well. All they do is create havoc so they can get money, so they can continue to have their agenda. Their best interest is not for the teachers nor for the students. It's for themselves and their agendas. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So the Second Amendment. Now, there's a judge in New York that made this statement. She said, the Second Amendment doesn't exist in my courtroom. If you don't believe me, check it out.
A delusional New York judge had the audacity to tell an attorney during trial when he brought up the Second Amendment during his opening statement, mind you, do not bring the Second Amendment into this courtroom. It doesn't exist here. So you can't argue Second Amendment. This is New York.
Wait, what?
Can you believe that? You are not allowed. Now, I'll play it again. It's just a short segment. This judge in New York told the attorney making an opening argument, don't bring up the Second Amendment here. This is New York.
Audacity to tell an attorney during trial when he brought up the Second Amendment during his opening statement, mind you, do not bring the Second Amendment into this courtroom. It doesn't exist here. So you can't argue Second Amendment. This is New York.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Ma'am, it's New York, a state in America with a constitution, not Sparta, where you can just Leonidas front kick amendments you don't like out of the Constitution.
This is Sparta!
This guy has got quite the show there. But this is what we're seeing. I think our country, and I think a lot of you guys are seeing it with me, you've got judges that are just legislating from the bench out of what they believe, their opinion. They're not using the Constitution as a guideline anymore. Some of them think, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I don't know if you know this, she was on record saying that the Constitution was outdated and it was time that we wrote a new one. Now, she was far left liberal. So that's where you're at today. You have what you call constitutionalists, and you have what you call progressives, is the term now, instead of saying conservative and liberal. But you've got judges today that are just picking, it's like going to a salad bar. Hey, I like this, but I don't like that. I like this in the law, but I don't like that. And so what they do is they try to frame things, and they've gotten it wrong before. In the Supreme Court, they made slavery legal. I don't know if you knew that. Back before the Civil War, the Supreme Court literally voted, and it was a Democrat-leaning Supreme Court at the time, and the two Republicans voted against it, but the Democrats who stacked the court at that time voted for slavery to be legalized in the country. They thought that was going to avert a civil war. It did not. It escalated. And that's when Abraham Lincoln became the very first representative of a new party called the Republican Party. And if you go look, the Democrats pretty much owned the slave states in the South, and 7 slave states banned Lincoln's name from being on the ballot back in 1860. So banning people that don't agree with you from ballots is nothing new for the Democrats. They've done it for decades, like they tried to do with Trump. And now you saw what happened in Colorado. It was a stacked Democratic court that agreed with that wackadoodle Secretary of State to take Trump off the ballot. Had to go then to a Supreme Court that leans to the right now and said, no, you can't do that. You can't just take him off because you don't like him. And the interesting thing is they said he's an insurrectionist. He's never been charged or convicted of that.
Stand on the front line.
Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road in Ringgold, Georgia, believes in God, believes in traditional American family values, and believes in using movies to tell the stories of those values. The last Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m., Christ Fellowship Church has a movie night open to all members of the public that want to come and watch the movie. No admission charge. A free will offering will be taken. Tomorrow night, they'll be showing episodes 1 and 2, season 4 of The Chosen, the highly acclaimed film series telling the life of Jesus Christ. Come, enjoy the movie. No admission charge. The address, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia. Episodes 1 and 2, season 4 of The Chosen. You're invited. We'd like to see you there. Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia.
This is Macil Duncan, the pastor at Appleton Baptist Church. Our purpose statement is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. We have a food pantry, a homeless ministry, Awanas, children, senior adult, all ministries for all ages. Come join us. Go to www.apposonbaptist.com. Check out the Appleton Baptist Church. We feed over 3,000 people one time a month at the Appleton Food Pantry. Will you help us raise funds, do food drives, and be in prayer for the Appleton Food Pantry? You can help us feed the hungry. Also, we have a homeless ministry that goes downtown and helps those in need downtown in tent cities. Please go to www.apposonbaptist.com. That's www.apposonbaptist.com. Make a generous donation today and help us feed the hungry at www.apposonbaptist.com. God bless, my friend. There's somebody hungry in your world. Do something about it. My friends, welcome back to the show. This is Macil Duncan, and got some other things for you to understand as we're looking at different things here. But the Appleton Food Pantry, you heard me mention, we are feeding lots of hungry people, and we're so excited about those of you that are partnering. And I want to also say a special shout out to some of the churches in the area that are doing food drives, and we appreciate that. Your sensitivity to the need for hunger is important. Well, there's a massive 78% majority of Americans who believe social media companies have too much political power. Now, I don't think this is a shockaroo to anybody, but the Pew Research Center survey released on Monday revealed that the issue concerns both sides of the aisle, with 84% of Republicans and 74%, I was shocked, of Democrats are concerned about these companies' influence. The pollsters found Republicans and independents who lean toward the Republican Party, which is 84%, are more likely than Democrats. Now, Democrats are up to 74%, which I thought was higher. I wasn't expecting, but they believe that the social media company has a lot of political power. The report adds, while Republican opinions have changed little since 2020, this view has grown more common among Democrats over the past 4 years. Back in 2020, only 63% of Democrats felt that the social media had an influence. So it went from 63% to 74%. I think that's rather amazing. So additionally, Americans are more likely to say social media has a negative rather than positive impact on the country. So that's something to consider, because a lot of folks felt like Zuckerberg and his billions of dollars pretty much that he gave towards the election last year pretty much helped the hiding Biden campaign when he wasn't out campaigning. But why go out and campaign if you're going to get all this, not only free advertisement, but they were going to ban and social or put in some kind of a ban on Christians or conservatives by blocking or putting a fact checker on you. So that's an interesting thing. Also interesting among the public, over half of Americans support mass deportations of illegal immigrants. Now, the Daily Wire, this just dropped on the news this morning. Just over half of Americans say they support the mass deportation of illegal immigrants. a recent poll found as issues take center stage in the race for the presidency. So what you're finding here, which I think is interesting with the two polls, Democrats have increased their concern about social media involvement in political elections. But secondly, Democrats are increasingly, as well as independents, becoming more in favor of deportation of illegal aliens, especially those that have any violent tendencies or cannot be proven to be brought here with some sort of a civil path here. If you're brought here under asylum reasons because you're in danger, we understand that. But some of these folks are coming just at will, and it's got a lot of folks concerned, especially when the FBI director, Christopher Wray, has given now six warnings to Congress that we could have we could have some kind of a conflict on American soil. So this poll, I think, is very interesting. And it says the Harris poll on behalf of Axios found baby boomer generation was most likely to support deportation with 60%, followed by Gen X at 53%. But check this out, millennials actually 48%. Now I know that's a little bit under 50%, but 48% of millennials now believe. Now that number was in the 20% back in 2020. Millennials have more than doubled their agreement that, hey, we need to have some deportation. Immigration's out of control. And there's another surprise. Gen Z is at 35%. Okay, all those have risen. The millennials and the Gen Zs have risen under the Biden administration, whereas they were very much anti-border, and that's one of the knocks they had on Donald Trump. They thought he was too strict. The wall was too tall. The wall was too oppressive. That's changing, especially now with crime, drug use, and the more knowledge we have of sex trafficking. So these things are coming about, and the Daily Wire, it's a great article if you want to go check it out. Over half of Americans support mass deportation of illegal aliens. Well, let's talk about the economy briefly. The cost of gasoline surges again under Biden. It's up 18% now in just the past 4 months. I don't know if anyone's going to fill up the gas and you're going, shabam, what is happening? Well, going into the summer months, not only do you have gas for your driving, but those of us that mow yards, you got to think about that. So gas is becoming an issue, and I don't know why. Going into a presidential election, the Democrats haven't tried to do some of their schmoozing. Maybe they've come up short. I don't know. The deals are off. Now, the cost of gasoline is once again surging across the U.S. as Biden regime continues its war on energy independence. Bloomberg reports with only 6 months to go until all important presidential election, Biden's efforts to lower the cost of the pump are in jeopardy. Now, I didn't know he had any attempts to lower it at the pump. But this is a report. Calculus is getting tricky for Biden before an election in which the rising cost of living is expected to figure prominently in voting decisions. 92% now, according to a Fox poll I shared yesterday, said the economy is still one of the number one issues in their voting choice. So if 92% say the economy is going to decide who they vote for and how they vote, with the gas prices going up, grocery prices going up, rent, etc., I think that Biden, no wonder you see Trump climbing in the polls. And we've got something to show you later on in the show about this. But I think this is interesting. But because the Democrats know they're going to get shellacked if it's a fair election, here's something that just came out yesterday. It's been confirmed. The federal government, I should say Biden's federal government, is giving voter registration forms to non-citizen refugees. That's right. This is verified. The federal government is giving voter registration forms to non-citizen refugees. According to South Carolina State Representative and congressional candidate Adam Morgan, the federal government, is including voter registration in their packets at the Social Security office in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Now you're saying, what are you talking about? They're issuing people that aren't citizens yet these packets. It's I guess your pathway to citizenship, but they're going ahead and they're giving him voter registrations. Now you need to understand what part of the plan is that many have devised here or surmised. If the call it sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, if they continue to have this mass populous growth, then in the census upcoming, anyone that gets federal funding, whether you're a citizen or you're just an illegal alien, if you get federal funding, you're counted in the census because federal dollars are going to that home. Savvy? Are you understanding why they're giving so much money to illegal aliens? Not only to bribe them for the vote, but they want them to stay in the blue states. They want them to stay in the blue cities. They want them to live in those hotels. They want them to establish, if you want to call it, residency, so that they can count them in the census. Because technically, I believe they have to be a resident there. Some states 3 months, some are 6 months, and some are 12 months. But don't be too surprised. And once they get what they want, then they kick them to another state. Because the mayor of New York's already said they're tapped out. They're tapped out. They're saying this is outrageous. So as you look at this stuff, you've got deportation opinions increasing now among all the different the millennials, the Gen Zs, okay? The older generations were already kind of in favor. You're seeing people see the problem. The border's been open way too long. It's way too wide, and they're not following laws. We're having more crime. It's affecting American citizens, their livelihoods. It's affecting things in their life. And so where do you draw the line? I mean, you want to be compassionate. You want to help people that maybe in another country are being persecuted or they can't live a good life. Yes, you want to find a way, but we have a way. We have a process. Now, I think many of us would say the process is not maybe needs to be fixed, because it takes a very long time now for somebody to come in legally. And I think the problem they have with that is when you come in legally and you go through the process, this is just my opinion, I think they kind of weed you out if they think you're going to be somebody that's not going to be in their bracket. But when they bring you in illegally and they ship you and fly you all over the country, you're going to be very grateful and probably vote for that party and for that leadership that's doing all this for you. On the flip side, there's nefarious human trafficking. There's been several instances down at the border. Some of the Texas and the Arizona ranchers have shown what they call rape trees, where women are tied to poles and they're raped as their final passage into the country. And it's a documentation you may not want to watch, but it's out there. I'm not saying I've seen it. I just saw the picture of the tree. I didn't watch any of the actions. But I have seen the pictures of the poles and the chains that they've used. And hear the rancher share his story. This country's a mess, my friends. But I still I'm the optimist guy. Okay, I still see the glass half full. I still think we can come back from this. But it's going to take Christians, and we'll talk about that later in the show. We've got some responsibilities. We've got to try to step up. But we're seeing more and more people, whether they're in the faith or not in the faith, concerned about some of the same issues: the economy, the border, illegal alien and crime getting out of hand. So you're seeing those things come up, and with us being right at 5.5 months or so before the election, because when you count early election, we're really 5 months out, because a lot of states start letting you early vote 30 days before the election. So you really got now to October 5th, because November 5th is the actual election day. Starting the 1st of October, there'll be a lot of people that'll go early to cast their vote. So that gives politicians pretty much here 5 months, roughly. What do you think is the number one agenda in your area? I bet it's the economy. I bet it's the economy.
This is your Fact Check moment by Macil Duncan Radio. Did you know Rules for Radicals was written by Saul Alinsky? He dedicated the book to Satan. He said the first successful rebellion ever was when he took one-third of the angels from hell, from heaven to hell. Here are the 8 things. He said if you can control health care, create poverty, increase the debt unsustainable, control all guns, then put people on welfare, control education, and keep religion out of the public square, and create, number 8, a class welfare state, then you can control any country. These 8 things are in the Rules for Radical book that was nothing but satanic jargon. Be wise, my friends, because he trained Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and many others you deem as leftist heroes. Check it out. This is a Fact Check by Macil Duncan. Hello, friends. This is Macil Duncan, radio host of the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Check out my new book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. In my book, I talk about the mountain of bitterness, the mountain of division, how to deal with the mountain of fear, the 12-hour anger limit, how you can have peace in a troubled world. Check out my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, wherever you get your online reading. Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith by Macil Duncan. Hey friend, do you feel the pressures of this world? Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. When the world is crazy and life looks hopeless, remember to turn to God, and sometimes it's just a matter of mind, renewing your mind through prayer, worship, attending church, being with like-minded believers, and do what the Scripture says. Don't be conformed to this world, but renew your mind, and it will transform your attitudes, your actions, and your faith. This is Pastor Duncan with USA Heartbeat Radio.
Welcome back to the show, my friends, and this is Macil Duncan. I am the Patriot Pastor here. We're live in Chattanooga, Tennessee on the U.S. Heartbeat Radio, and we're now in 30-some states. We appreciate that. We're also in Mexico, Canada. We've had over 26 countries download or view the show, and we get that through a demographic that we have through USA Radio. The other thing I think is interesting is now that 96.9 FM has picked us back up, we are now live here in my hometown of Chattanooga. We're also in SGM, Alabama. We're down in the good old state of Alabama. And thank you for the New Jersey Freedom Group that has a radio station and television up in New Jersey. So pastor salute to all those that carry the show. Walmart closing 51 clinics as it changes landscape of its entire health division. I think this was a shocker no one saw coming. Walmart has announced that they are shutting down 51 healthcare centers in 6 states, okay, and are ending virtual healthcare services, the company said in a statement on Tuesday. The clinic located in Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Missouri, and Texas have been open for a few years. However, Walmart pharmacies and vision centers will not be affected. These evidently were increased tests that possibly, I guess, have maybe doctors on site or something. We're not sure. But additional patients with scheduled appointments will continue to be seen, and Walmart will continue to make an effort to send patients to providers that are available under the patient's insurance care, according to the CNBC. So one of the unique things was they were forced on stores located in underserved communities. It's disappointing Walmart wasn't able to make it work because these patients need care and don't have as many options. So evidently this was an attempt to try to provide health care maybe in areas they didn't have the doctors, etc. But anyway, I thought this was interesting. The Harvard Medical School actually was behind some of this, trying to help make this happen. But anyway, if you're a Walmart stockholder, I don't think this will affect your stock. It's just going to make you maybe understand that your healthcare options in the rural areas are just going to go back to the normal pharmacy and your vision care centers. So keep that in mind. Well, Trump is absolutely savage, some would say. But this is an interview about Bill Barr, and some people don't have a lot of sympathy because they feel Bill Barr kind of let down Donald Trump. Let's see what you think of this.
I have to ask you about something that Trump posted about you this week, because he responded in response to you saying you'd vote for the Republican ticket. Wow, former AG Bill Barr, who let a lot of great people down by not investigating voter fraud in our country, has just endorsed me for president despite the fact that I called him weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy. Based on the fact that I greatly appreciate his wholehearted endorsement, I am removing the word lethargic from my statement. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. It's classic Trump. What's the question?
What's your response?
Well, I mean, obviously, what I said was that I'm very disappointed that this country is stuck with this choice between two people who I don't think either of them should be president of the United States. But given that binary choice, I feel I have to choose Trump.
See, that wasn't so hard.
As between Biden and Trump, I will vote for Trump because I believe he will do less damage over the 4 years. I believe I believe we're facing the most dangerous situation we've ever faced in the world. A lot of it invited by Biden's weakness.
Come on, man.
And to have Biden out there for the next 4 years, given all the threats we face, including handing the keys to the nuclear weapon to Iran, with a vice president like Kamala Harris, endangers the country.
Well, let me just say, I love Venn diagrams. I really love Venn diagrams. You know, the circles, right? 3 usually.
That alone should be reason to vote for the Republican ticket.
I'm stupid, you're smart. I was wrong, you were right. You're the best, I'm the worst. You're very good looking, I'm not attractive.
All right. As long as you're willing to admit that now.
So, whether you love me or hate me, you gotta vote for me.
Oh, and did that not? Now, I know that was a parody a little bit in there, but that's actually Bill Barr saying, as much as you can tell, he doesn't like Trump. They're not, I don't think they're going to be having any dinner meetings or any get-togethers, but he said between the two choices. And I think that's where America's coming down to with this upcoming election. There's a lot of frustration because they feel under Biden we have a lot of chaos. And here is News Nation, for instance, covering this recent chaos and with the college crisis. I think we've all heard so much about it, so I'm not going to play you tons of clips. But here's one. See what you think.
Protesters smashed through these windows overnight to get inside. They barricaded the doors with furniture. They shouted pro-Palestinian slogans, and they hung a banner reading Intifada, which means rebellion.
So these kids hung banners in another language that means rebellion, and they're chanting and going around the country, in all these campuses. But the interesting thing, as I played for you yesterday, when Jill Stein got arrested, the college, I believe it was Washington University, they arrested over 100 people. But they let it slip. Only not quite 24 were actual students. So let's just say it was 100, and let's be generous and say 25 were students. That means 75 of the protesters were trespassing on private property. Or they were faculty members. There's a chance of that. But only 25, it actually said barely 24, that's probably 24-ish, were students. So what does that tell you? They're painting the picture using the term college campuses because they want to send out this message that, hey, the kids across the country, the next generation of leaders, hates Israel, hates America, and they're trying to maybe send some kind of a virtue signal, I guess, to the global, especially those that hate America. Hey, come on in, the water's fine. Or possibly even trigger some sleeper cells in this country. As I've told you before, the FBI director has told us 6 times there's a chance we could have conflict on American soil. That we do have violent sleeper cells in this country. So with that said, we just had the police officer shot there in North Carolina. They did not go into great detail. They just said someone had an illegal firearm. Now, you got to ask yourself, if you're in a house and you know that police officers are coming to serve a warrant on you, and you open fire, okay, and he killed 4, but there had to have been, usually when they come, that's why you see them come in force. It is to provide a little bit of an intimidation factor, and because it's dangerous when you don't know what's on the other side of that door. You got to ask yourself, was this person, we haven't been told a lot about other than the shooter is deceased and had an automatic weapon. It's going to be interesting to find out the history of that one. But as you start thinking about this, and the campus police is said were nowhere to be found during the protest in Columbia University. There were 2 boys that were seen on the video. You may have seen. They were trying to protect their student center. And the mob finally just threw them out of the way. But they were trying to protect their campus. Those 2 students should be given some kind of a decoration, in my opinion, because the campus police weren't showing up. And here were 2 college kids trying to keep them from breaking in and harming others. So this is just where we're at. So Israel had a statement, and I found this cool site. Let me see the name of it. If you want to go, this is Israel's news. It's all Israel news. See what you think about what this statement is. Because just like here in America, 9/11 united us for quite a while. They're saying the Hamas attack on October 7th kind of united their country. Check this out.
Before October 7th, we in Israel were painfully divided.
We rarely agreed on much because we're Jews, we're Arabs, secular and religious, left and right. Even more rare would be Israelis praying the same prayer. But now, after October 7th, we're united that we want our hostages back home. Isn't it not time for all of us to pray the same prayer?
In the Hebrew scriptures, the Lord says through the prophet Isaiah that the coming Messiah would one day pray this prayer, Ruach Adonai alai, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. Ya'an mashach Adonai oti levaser anavi, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. Shlachani lachbosh lanishbarei lev, He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. Likro l'shvuim dror, to proclaim freedom for the captives. Shvuim is the Hebrew word for captives or hostages. It's the same word in the biblical Hebrew as it is today in modern Hebrew. Shvuim. V'laserim pkach koach, and release from darkness for the prisoners. Likro shnat ratzon Adonai, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor.
This is the prayer that we need. We absolutely need the Lord to bind up our broken hearts in Israel's darkest hour with so many hostages still in those Hamas terror tunnels. And we need to plead with the Lord to set the captives free.
And that's pretty much what Israel's trying to negotiate this time. And Blinken and others are urging Hamas to let the hostages go, but I think they know what happens once that happens. Netanyahu has said we're getting a little bit impatient. Here he is talking about how the international court wants to arrest him and some of the league cabinet, and so he's getting a little defensive. And you can imagine. Check this out.
Believe this. The International Criminal Court in The Hague is contemplating issuing arrest warrants against senior Israeli government and military officials as war criminals. This would be an outrage of historic proportions. International bodies like the ICC arose in the wake of the Holocaust committed against the Jewish people. They were set up to prevent such horrors, to prevent future genocides. Yet now, the International Court is trying to put Israel in the dock.
In saying I've got more.
Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road in Ringgold, Georgia, believes in God, believes in traditional American family values, and believes in using movies to tell the stories of those values. The last Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m., Christ Fellowship Church has a movie night, open to all members of the public that want to come and watch the movie. No admission charge. A free will offering will be taken. Tomorrow night, they'll be showing episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen, the highly acclaimed film series telling the life of Jesus Christ. Come, enjoy the movie. No admission charge. The address, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia. Episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen. You're invited. We'd like to see you there. Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia.
We feed over 3,000 people one time a month at the Appison Food Pantry. Will you help us raise funds, do food drives, and be in prayer for the Appison Food Pantry? You can help us feed the hungry. Also, we have a homeless ministry that goes downtown and helps those in need downtown in tent cities. Please go to www.appisonbaptist.com. That's www.appisonbaptist.com. Make a generous donation today and help us feed the hungry at www.appisonbaptist.com. God bless, my friend. There's somebody hungry in your world. Do something about it.
My Forever Memories helps to bring you the Macil Duncan Radio Show. My Forever Memories believes in family values, in American values, and we believe in remembering those who have gone before us. We provide a transparent, weather-resistant container that can be attached to a gravesite in which you can put a picture of the loved one who is lying there. You can also put notes, greeting cards. You see, it's all about remembering those who have gone before us. We believe in memories. We believe in family values, and we remember those family values held dear by the ones who have gone before us. America is important. Our traditional American values are important, and remembering those who have helped us to build this country is important. And that's why we help bring you the Macil Duncan Radio Show. You can find out more about us by going to our website, myforevermemories.com.
Hello, friends. This is Macil Duncan, radio host of the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Check out my new book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. In my book, I talk about the mountain of bitterness, the mountain of division, how to deal with the mountain of fear, the 12-hour anger limit, how you can have peace in a troubled world. Check out my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, wherever you get your online reading. Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith by Macil Duncan.
Welcome back to the show. This is Macil Duncan, and this is the Macil Duncan Radio Show here daily, 3 to 6 p.m. We're on the USA Heartbeat Radio across the nation, and we appreciate all those that listen. We're in 30 states plus the District of Columbia, and we are in Mexico and Canada, and got listeners from different parts of the world. We've also got Alabama and New Jersey stations carrying the show, so thanks, guys. There's a group down in Alabama that's also carrying the show, so we appreciate that as well. You guys are amazing. The big question right now, I think a lot of folks have with an election coming up, and I've got to just put my 2 cents in, is Joe Biden competent? I think a lot of folks are concerned. Does he have the mental capacity to handle the pressure? Is he even calling the shots now? I think a lot of folks, you see a lot of the, he gets made fun of a lot. And I shared with you yesterday, One American News brought out he's now the most unpopular president in the past 70 years. He has now broken Jimmy Carter's record. He is now at 38.7% favorability. And that's pretty bad. So and many of us think it's worse. That's probably a generous number. I bet you if they did a real poll, I don't think the dude gets 25%. I could be wrong. But let's just all agree that Joe Biden's not the most popular president. You don't see any Build Back Better t-shirts, bumper stickers. You don't see Build Back Better placards. You don't hear people repeating the statement. Now, they did when he was running in 2020. But today they don't use the word Bidenomics anymore. As a matter of fact, the Biden team has said they're going to quit using the term Bidenomics. And he had a sarcastic, he thought, Maganomics. Well, he said that's backfired. Every time he says Maganomics, people respond positively because they see Donald Trump as better on the economy. So with that said, Joe Biden's handlers seem to not want him to debate. They didn't want him to go against Robert F. Kennedy. Now think about it. Robert F. Kennedy has very much vocal problems. He's hard to understand. Yet they still wouldn't let him debate and challenge Biden for the nomination of the Democratic Party. Now, as I said yesterday, just like Tulsi Gabbard and many in the Democratic Party were upset because they felt Bernie Sanders in 2016 had the momentum. You remember Feel the Burn? He definitely, if the Democrats were honest, would have won the Democratic nomination. But they have a thing in the Democratic Party called superdelegates. You may have heard of that. I think there's 200, 250 of them. Their vote counts like 10 times. So if the will of the people picks someone that they don't like, the superdelegates step in and they make sure the Hillary Clintons override the Bernie Sanders, if you will. Seth Rich gets shot in the back. Tulsi Gabbard resigns as vice president. You had a lot of issues during that Democratic, after that convention and after that pick of Hillary, that still hasn't been explained well today. But anyway, will they allow Joe Biden to debate Donald Trump? This is Sky News from Australia, and see what you think. When other countries comment on us, it's very interesting to listen.
Yeah, it's a real weak spot for the political left in the US, here in Australia, in Europe and the UK as well. The political left are just so weak on this, and we are seeing the consequences. It's a tragic shame. Let's get to the main contest, the presidential contest, and former President Donald Trump has reaffirmed that he's ready, willing and able to debate Joe Biden. Have a look.
I've invited Biden to debate. He can do it anytime he wants. We're willing to do it Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, or Friday night on national television. We're ready. Just tell me where. We'll do it in the White House. That would be very comfortable, actually.
Yeah, before I get your response on this, Kristen, I'll show a response from Joe Biden as well, because strangely enough, the president has turned up on the Howard Stern show, which is sort of normally where you see rock stars and whatever doing their unplugged hits with Howard Stern. But here's Joe Biden on a debate.
I don't know if you're going to debate your opponent.
I am somewhere. I don't know when. I'm happy to debate him.
You got it. Joe Biden on the Howard Stern show says, I'll be happy to debate. I don't know when. Well, we know Joe doesn't know where he is or when on a lot of things, but this is, again, Joe Biden responding about him being willing to debate.
You're going to debate your opponent.
I am
your opponent.
I am
your opponent.
I am somewhere. I don't know when. I'm happy to debate him. I'm happy to debate him. I'm happy to debate him. I'm happy to debate him.
It's mumble. You know, he kind of mumbles now. But he says, I'm happy to debate him. So it's going to be interesting to see if he follows through and actually will debate. But here's another funny parody. This was Jen Psaki being kind of pushed. If she was back in the press secretary, would she allow him to debate?
I'm curious for what Jen Psaki's reaction would have been like if she was still in the White House when she heard President Biden blurt out during a live interview that he was going to debate. Because Biden folks don't want him to debate. They don't want to give Trump that platform and risk exposing Biden like that on national TV. It is. They don't want to give Trump that platform and risk exposing Biden like that on national TV.
It is. Oof. Except I was thinking if I was in my old job from 2 years
This is Jen Psaki.
ago, you also don't want him to say no.
You don't want him to say no. Why, Jen Psaki?
Because no is weak. And no.
Because no is weak. And Ben, I think most of us see Biden as a weak, vexed old gentleman that can't do what he used to do. And not that what he did was that great when he was a senator or even vice president. I mean, he was good running around the yard with Obama when they did their little jog. That's about it. Now, this is the incredible Fetterman. John Fetterman has this incredible statement. I'm going to play at the end, and then I'll come back and let you hear the whole thing, about people living in pup tents, making the decisions they're making.
When you're kind of seeing this manifest itself in a campus like this. Now, of course, it's a great American value to protest, but I don't believe living in a pup tent for protest, but I don't believe living in a pup tent, but I don't believe living in but I don't believe living in a pup tent for Hamas is really helpful.
Yeah. So I don't believe living in a pup tent is really helpful, okay, to Hamas. Here's the whole interview clip. See what you think. It's only about a minute and a half.
So when President Biden was talking about these protests, he did a little both sidesing. He said the anti-Semitism of the protesters is bad, but everybody needs to understand about the humanitarian plight in Gaza too. Yes. What tone do you think he should be taking? What's the right answer when talking about these issues?
Well, I'm not going to give the president any advice or anyone, only on fashion. and you know, but I will say this is that it's very clear.
Yep.
That there is a very germ of anti-Semitism in all of these protests, you know, and then sometimes it flares up. And again, including one of the leaders in Colombia said some just awful things and talking about, well, they're lucky that I'm not killing Zionists and things like that.
Yep.
And then he defended himself by saying, well, those were taken out of context. And I'm like, well, that's very similar to the way the college presidents, like same kind of language and those kind of monocultures that create situations and that replicates. And now it's no...
You know, bruh.
It's not a surprise that when you're kind of seeing this manifest itself in a campus like this. Now, of course, it's a great American value to protest, but I don't believe living in a pup tent for Hamas is really helpful.
Now, that's John Fetterman, who is a Democrat, as you know, Democrat senator, and he beat Dr. Oz, which everyone thought was maybe a shocker. But the long and short, he's been making a lot, if you want to call it, common sense, if not leaning right, statements lately. And that's one I thought was interesting. So you have, going into a presidential election, the Democrats not acting so Democrat-minded, if you will, like you would before. The thing I think a lot of folks don't realize is how manipulated their kids have been. This is leaked footage, and I played this a week ago, of how kids are being taught how to say death to America and death to Israel in another language so it doesn't sound so bad, because when they were just using English, death to America and death to Israel, it was upsetting the American citizen near them. So if they shout it in another language, well, then they don't know really what they're saying, so it's not as offensive. But this guy tells them basically to use the word margarita, and you'll hear how he teaches them how to say this in his native language.
Two meanings, depending on who you ask. It can mean death to or down with.
Here are some Islamists in Chicago over the weekend where they go to class to learn how to chant death to Israel and death to America. What class is this? What do people, is this like, well, just watch.
So I'm going to teach you a chant in Persian that you can use if you ever encounter those Zionist freaks, whether they be Iranian or whatever, all right? Now, I don't drink margaritas, but we all know what a margarita is. We all know what a bar is. So you're going to say, Marg Bar. Marg Bar. Marg Bar Israel. 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 Thank you.
What does that mean?
Did you hear the girl at the end say, what does that mean? It means death to Israel. She wasn't paying attention. But then the guy says, oh, can we do it to America? Listen to this.
Oh, so it has two meanings depending on who's asking. It can mean death to or down with. So
Can we get a Marg Bar America?
we can get a Marg Bar America. Yes, we can. Marg Bar America.
Marg Bar America.
Marg Bar America.
Marg Bar America.
That means death to America, my friends. They're being taught this in these classes in your college campuses. This was a secret footage someone took. It's a little blurred. You can go to YouTube. It's leaked footage shows how dangerous pro-Palestine activists are getting. You know, when kids go off to college, they're very impressionable. You've probably heard that term, and they're always looking for that new experience or that new thing. But to be taught to hate your country, death to America, and one of our best allies, death to Israel, I don't think I want to be paying outrageous tuitions to go to a school to brainwash my child to come back hating the very values and the very country that gave them this opportunity. Burning flags, saying death to America, defying authority. I know I sound like an old man. I guess maybe I am. But there's something about this country, and I think it's worth defending. I think it's worth engaging in healthy conversations and trying to say, hey, this is wrong. I'm in small group today. We were at a restaurant. I meet every Tuesday with some guys, and I mentor. And a gentleman just happened to be, the news was on, and he started engaging me because this John 3:16 always gets conversations going. And he says, it's crazy what's going on in this country. He goes, they should lock them all up. I said, well, I agree. These kids that are, you know, it's one thing to have free speech, but it's another for you to bar others from having access to campus, like the Jewish students or the Jewish professors, and tell them they're not allowed on campus anymore, or they're not allowed to go to the library, or a professor's not allowed to go and teach his class. That's not free speech. That's being a bully. Okay, that's oppression. That's what you want to call it, if you want to call it racism. And it's wrong. Now, I told you the Saul Alinsky book, Rules for Radical, he dedicated the book to Lucifer. And you probably heard my fact, Jack. But these 8 things that Saul Alinsky came up with, he got them from the Communist Manifesto, and Lenin used these. And Lenin called the people that follow this useful idiots. Hate to say it, but do you kind of sense the way this college, a lot of useful idiots are just being pawns? Because this thing was not just all of a sudden just a spontaneous thing. This obviously took planning to have multiple colleges across the country have these same looking tents, okay, to have the same demands, if you will, defund Israel and all these other crazy demands, as if these college professors have the ability to do that. And they're trying to get them to just to agree to heinous things. And if it wasn't for a presidential election, they probably would allow this to go on longer. But the more this happens, Donald Trump keeps climbing in the polls. And I think this is what's interesting, is how people are seeing that whatever they thought they were going to get out of this is not playing well. And this is the recent poll here. See what you think.
Our new poll, which was conducted by SSRS, finds Trump is leading Biden, who has ample work to do with his base and with independent voters who are breaking to his GOP rival. In a head-to-head race, 49% of voters say they'd pick Trump for president, compared to 43% for Biden.
49 for Trump, 43 for Biden. 8% said unsure.
That's a 9-point Trump advantage with independent voters. And add in third-party candidates, and Trump's lead jumps even more. He has 42% to Biden's 33%.
Now, this is what's interesting. When you throw in all the independent candidates, you got Trump at 42, Biden drops to 33, Kennedy drops to 16, or not drop, he's at 16. West, the crazy guy with the big fro, he's at 4%, and Stein, Jill Stein, the Green Party liberal, is at 3%. So when you go back and look at Donald Trump, he was at 49%, okay, and Biden was at 43. Well, Trump only loses 7 points. He stays at 42. Biden loses 10 points. Kennedy is actually picking Biden's pocket, and it's killing them. So Biden and Kennedy combined, if they were to unite, would be 40. They'd be 49, and that would be. But see, this is where they messed up. They gave Kennedy the Heisman. They said, "Whoa, we don't want you near us." And the Democratic Party, I think, made a huge error. Kennedy could have been so valuable to the Democratic Party. I still think he would have made a much better lead candidate. Now, I know they probably did their little research and their things, but here's the rest of the report.
And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gets 16% of the vote. Our poll also underscores the challenges of incumbency and that voters, 4 years later, good, have a better view of Trump's presidency compared to Biden's.
So right now, as a success, Trump is seen 55% as a success by likely voters. Biden is at 39%. That means 61% of America views Biden as a failure. This is a recent poll by CNN, mind you. So you know they've probably skewed it just a little bit, to make him not look quite so bad. And that's what's interesting. But
what a mess.
During campaign stops, former President Trump is asking the old question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And Trump has now gotten a response from President Biden, who says, quote, well, Donald, I'm glad you asked that question, man, because I hope everyone in the country takes a minute to think back to what it was like in March of 2020. Common sense would like to rewind the clock. In March of 2020, AAA says the average price of gas was $1.99 a gallon. Today it's $3.53. Mortgage rates in March 2020 averaged 3.29%. Today it's 7.2%. Food up 25%. Rent 22% up. Credit card debt 47% up. In 4 years, the illegal immigration population has gone up by 8 to 9 million. Homelessness, crime also up. In fairness, some things are down, like test scores, arrests, and national pride.
Test scores, arrest, and national pride are down. Now, I got to ask you, my friend, you've got to start thinking about this. Where's the nation going, and who is best to lead us out, come January 2025? There's just a lot of opinion right now, and I think a lot of folks, we're going to have to do our best, and this is what's going to be hard for you. Try not to vote based on your political past and your partisan bias. Because if you've been raised Democrat, you're going to think, hey, Democrats are the way. If you've been raised Republican, you're going to say Republican all the way. Right? I mean, that is a tendency to have that ingrained bias. Just like I'm a Tennessee Vol fan. I was raised a Tennessee fan. My dad, I remember watching games and asking who was the orange guys, and Dad would say, that's your Tennessee Vols. One of the first songs I learned to sing was Rocky Top. Will always be home sweet home to me. So as I got that ingrained in my body, to love Tennessee, if you love Tennessee, then you got to hate Alabama, okay, in football, and you hate Kentucky in basketball, okay? That's the stuff you learn. But it kind of goes that way when all of you would have to admit you were taught something by your family that you still stick to today. And it may be something silly like being a football fan, or maybe something more intense like political beliefs. And if you've been raised by someone that maybe your parents weren't Christian, maybe they were of a belief of atheistic or pragmatic, or just something that they didn't want God in their decision making supposedly. But you can't take God out of decision making because He's the Creator. Okay, that's just my view. Romans chapter 1 says any idiot can look up to the heavens and look around the earth and know that there was a Creator because there's creation. Savvy? With you? You got that? So here's what you got to find out as you're looking ahead in 2024. Now, I played for you the clip earlier. Bill Barr says, well, I don't like either candidate. They're both too old, but out of the two, I've got to just go with Donald Trump. But I also want to say, well, Mr. Barr, why didn't you do something when you had a chance? He could have investigated the balloting. And this is all I'll say. Whether you think the election was fair or not, the thing I don't understand, if I was Joe Biden and I had just gotten 81 million votes and Donald Trump, my arch enemy, was over there fussing about it, I think I would have said, recount the votes, rub it in his face, so we can have a big party, and let's just raise the roof and have a party. No, then they start, ballots go missing, machines all of a sudden go missing. All of a sudden, then that adds to the conspiracy, the whatever, to where you're going wet. And then you had the Ninja group that was down in Arizona doing a very good recount, and all of a sudden they're sued and bankrupt now. That group, the Ninja group that went down and was known for going and doing, they got sued by so many Democratic pundits. He went bankrupt. He had to stop. But he was proving how in Arizona, how they stole the votes. Why don't you want to tell the truth? That's where you got, if you watch the movie 2,000 Mules by Dinesh, you saw there were 4 prominent conservatives that were skeptics saying, I don't think the election was stolen. But then after Dinesh's thing, they said, now I do believe it was stolen. So you had even 4 guys that would lean conservative that were just accepting the results and saying, listen, Biden's your president, you got to move on. Well, Dinesh, who was, by the way, not a Trump supporter, if you remember back in 2016, just like Glenn Beck and many other people that are conservative, as you know, were anti-Trump. Glenn Beck put on a red MAGA hat after the election in 2016 and apologized to his audience because he knew, hey, I'm going to get alienated and I'm going to lose my conservative listening base if I don't make it right. But right up to the election, Glenn Beck was not a Trump fan. He was not. Neither was Dinesh D'Souza, and there were several conservative. Ben Shapiro still. I like the Daily Wire, but every chance Shapiro gets, he takes a shot at Trump. He hates Trump for some reason, but that's okay. That's this choice. This is America. You're allowed to choose who you like and who you don't, and you should vote for who you want and not have anyone mock you or malign you for that. But when you see people like Glenn Beck change his term, Dinesh D'Souza, even a Bill Barr that says, I don't like the guy, but he went out and endorsed him, said, I'm going to vote for him. Why? Because the thing about Donald Trump, you got to admit, he tends to keep his word. All of his campaign promises he kept. All of his judges, he gave you a list of 25 judges, and he said, I'm going to pick all my major judge appointments off this list, and he did. He said, I'm going to secure the border, and he did. He said, I'm going to cut taxes. He did. He said, I'm going to not get us in any kind of a military conflict. Not only did he keep peace, he went over to North Korea and went across the demilitarized zone. No president has ever walked into North Korea like that. That put if you want to call it the deep state, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call these guys, that probably had to put them, they were probably wetting their pants. Saying, geez, the guy has no shame. He's just rubbing it in our face. And you remember Rocket Man didn't set off any rockets during the Trump administration. He did before, and he has since, but during that 4 years, Rocket Man was because Trump keeps his word. I think so.
Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road in Ringgold, Georgia, believes in God, believes in traditional American family values, and believes in using movies to tell the stories of those values. The last Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m., Christ Fellowship Church has a movie night, open to all members of the public that want to come and watch the movie. No admission charge. A free will offering will be taken. Tomorrow night, they'll be showing episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen, the highly acclaimed film series telling the life of Jesus Christ. Come, enjoy the movie. No admission charge. The address, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia. Episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen. You're invited. We'd like to see you there. Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia.
This is Macil Duncan, the pastor at Appleton Baptist Church. Our purpose statement is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. We have a food pantry, a homeless ministry, Awanas, children, senior adult, all ministries for all ages. Come join us. Go to www.apposonbaptist.com. Check out the Appleton Baptist Church. We feed over 3,000 people one time a month at the Appleton Food Pantry. Will you help us raise funds, do food drives, and be in prayer for the Appleton Food Pantry? You can help us feed the hungry. Also, we have a homeless ministry that goes downtown and helps those in need downtown in tent cities. Please go to www.apposonbaptist.com. That's www.apposonbaptist.com. Make a generous donation today and help us feed the hungry at www.apposonbaptist.com. God bless, my friend. There's somebody hungry in your world. Do something about it.
Yesterday, 8 families had to be told that their loved one had been shot in the line of duty. It was news they hoped would never come. Tragically, 4 of those families have made the ultimate sacrifice. Yesterday, North Carolina and this country lost 4 heroes and saw 4 other heroes wounded.
Charlotte isn't going to be the last place that this happens, but Charlotte will be the place that will heal with dignity and respect for everyone.
And we're still kind of sorting through that right now. We're not ruling out the possibility that someone else was firing as well, but we're also not ruling out the possibility that as we go through body-worn camera footage and as we go through interviews, to make sure that all of that timeline matches up.
So they're not ruling out there's a possibly second shooter there in Charlotte. This just dropped 47 minutes ago. So there were 4 officers that were killed. They were issuing a warrant for a illegal firearm. And as you guys have heard, it's been on the news. But with that, so many people say, hey, we've got to get rid of guns. We've got to get rid of guns. And that's just not the case. Now, this is David Hogg, the face of the remove gun, if you will, guy, and he gets dressed down in 1 minute by a woman that is transferred here from China. She's now a legal immigrant. She became a citizen of America from China. She's a gun owner, and she asked David Hogg the ultimate question that all lip-lock liberals do not want to answer. Check it out.
I'm not advocating for you having your gun taken away. I'm genuinely not. I know it may be.
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Again, this is David Hogg saying he's not advocating to have your gun taken away, but we're going to prove otherwise.
For you having your gun taken away. I'm genuinely not. I know it may be hard for you to believe that.
You have no right to a gun. You are not a militia. When you're talking about your Second Amendment rights, you're talking about a state's right to have what is today the National Guard. The modern interpretation of 2A is a ridiculous fraud pushed for decades by the gun lobby.
That's David Hogg. Okay, that's on his Twitter, now X account.
I'm not advocating for you having your gun taken away.
You're lying, and I know you're lying.
Hi, my name is Lily Tang Williams, and welcome to my Live Free or Die state. Actually, I am a Chinese immigrant who survived communism. And under Mao, 40 million people were starving to death after he sold communism to them, and 20 million people died, murdered during his Cultural Revolution. So my question to you, David, is that can you guarantee me, a gun owner tonight, our government in the US, in DC, will never become a tyrannical government?
Beautiful question. Can you guarantee that America will never, ever, ever become a tyrannical government? Beautiful question. Here's Mr. Hogg's answer.
Can you guarantee that to me?
There's no way I can ever guarantee that any government will not be tyrannical.
Well, then the debate on gun control is over. Because I will never give up my guns. Never, never. And you should go to China to see how gun control works for dictatorship.
I think I'm in love with her.
Would you please remove any metallic items you're carrying? Keys, loose change. Holy shit! Ugh.
My God.
I will never give up my guns. Never.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Amen, and amen, and amen. I like that lady. And did she give it to Mr. Hoggy Woggy? Now, I'm sure after he picked his teeth up off the floor, he realized he just got outclassed. Now, many folks here in Tennessee weren't real crazy about Governor Lee when he signed his executive order about a year ago.
We are seeing action today from Governor Bill Lee targeting gun rules in the state. The governor signed an executive order calling for stronger background checks to buy a gun. The governor is also asking lawmakers to pass stronger laws involving orders of protection.
Now, he did this executive order. This was right after the shooting there in Nashville by the transgender that they still have not yet released the manifesto. That's gone right into the secret category of the Epstein list. Who shot Kennedy? Who shot Martin Luther King? All these things they bury up there in the deep atmosphere of the minutia of D.C. And I guess the manifesto, even though it's been ordered to be released, the Nashville police refuse to release it. And you got to ask yourself why. It doesn't fit their narratives why. But Governor Lee did do a good thing. Whether you like that executive order or not, he is now allowing teachers to have concealed guns on campus in Tennessee.
Permitting teachers to carry guns in schools. This legislation requires teachers to meet specific criteria, and it aims to enhance school safety, especially in rural areas where law enforcement response times can often be slow.
So if you heard that, in rural areas where response times can be slow, that's a very good argument, and I think very rational, common sense argument. But here's the things: the teachers have to have a gun permit. They have to have, of course, a background check. They have to have a mental health evaluation. And you have to have 40 hours of training annually. Now, my advice is, I've got a gun club I'm a member of. You go and take the course. Now, if you have a license to carry, concealed carry in Tennessee, there's actually 38 states out of the 50 that have a kind of a pact, and it's good to go just to learn that which 38 states, your gun permit from Tennessee would be respected, if you will, and understand, what is called the castle doctrine, your house and your car. For instance, if you're in your car and someone comes into your car trying to harm you, and you are threatened to a point that you have to defend yourself, you have, just like if someone comes into your home. And now you can't shoot someone out in your front yard and drag them in your house, but if they come in your house, they're showing a violent threat, especially if they have a weapon, etc. Or there's you need to go and take the course. I don't want to try to teach it. I would not do it justice. But the other thing is, when you go get your license, I highly recommend the lifetime. It's a little bit more, but if you get the every 2-year renewal, then you run the chance when you go to get your 2-year renewal, they've done some shabam bam thank you ma'am to the law, and you either have to pay more money or might have to jump through some more hoops. If you go through the process, get the training, and get the certification, I suggest the lifetime permit. That's just me. But because then you're grandfathered in the future. But there's not everyone respects gun laws, and here's a black judge up in New York that says the Second Amendment doesn't exist in her courtroom.
A delusional New York judge had the audacity to tell an attorney during trial, when he brought up the Second Amendment during his opening statement, mind you, do not bring the Second Amendment into this courtroom. It doesn't exist here. So you can't argue Second Amendment. This is New York.
Wait, what? Did you catch that? I'll play it again. Listen carefully.
New York judge had the audacity to tell an attorney during trial, when he brought up the Second Amendment during his opening statement, mind you, do not bring the Second Amendment into this courtroom. It doesn't exist here. So you can't argue Second Amendment. This is New York.
So the judge said, hey, this is New York, and it's in my courtroom. And some of these judges, now I've got some friends that are judges here, and I respect them. And I went to high school with some of them, and there's funny jokes I could tell. But the bottom line is, you want to respect a judge, right? But a judge cannot change the law. Now, you're seeing that happen. It's getting bent a whole lot up in New York. I mean, New York. I mean, it almost needs a complete purging in its legal system up there. They need to go back and take the bar exam again or something, but there is a mess in New York. But for a judge to say, in my courtroom, the Second Amendment doesn't apply, don't even mention it, there's something wrong with that. And I've got a problem with that as an American. I don't think that's healthy, and I don't think that's good. But anyway, we're going to see what happens. This country was founded with freedoms, and people in America, whether you like it or not, we are guaranteed those freedoms. Sadly, now it's the United States that gets caught persecuting Christians. This is in the Gateway Pundit today. This article originated by WND.com. But sadly, American culture is increasingly hostile to faith. Long have reports of the persecution of Christians highlighted China and Pakistan, multiple Islamic nations in Africa, and hotbeds of hate of Christians in the Middle East. But now in the West, it's being called out. A report at the Washington Stand examines now international religious freedom organizations are monitoring religious freedom conditions in the United States, as easy to see why. Now, if you remember, the FBI had to admit over the holidays some of the terrorist watch list items. If you purchased a Bible, you were flagged. They were flagging through your bank account if you bought a Bible. You were put on a notice, and they made sure you're not a terrorist, if you will. Crazy. The Center for Religious Liberty at the Family Research Council added to the publication, sadly, American culture is increasingly hostile to traditional Christian beliefs. I can't say I disagree with this. Two recent situations both have developed in the leftist state of Colorado, run now by Democrats in the government's office, the state house, and the state senate. Their bureaucrats first accused Masterpiece cake shop owner, you remember, about the gay cake he didn't want to make? Christians are persecuted, not treated fairly in America.
This is your Fact Check moment by Macil Duncan Radio. Did you know Rules for Radicals was written by Saul Alinsky? He dedicated the book to Satan. He said the first successful rebellion ever was when he took 1/3 of the angels from hell, from heaven to hell. Here are the 8 things. He said if you can control health care, create poverty, increase the debt unsustainable, control all guns, then put people on welfare, control education, and keep religion out of the public square, and create, number 8, a class welfare state, then you can control any country. These 8 things are in the Rules for Radical book that was nothing but satanic jargon. Be wise, my friends, because he trained Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and many others you deem as leftist heroes. Check it out. This is a Fact Check by Macil Duncan. Hello, friends. This is Macil Duncan, radio host of the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Check out my new book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. In my book, I talk about the mountain of bitterness, the mountain of division, how to deal with the mountain of fear, the 12-hour anger limit, how you can have peace in a troubled world. Check out my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, wherever you get your online reading. Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith by Macil Duncan. Hey friend, do you feel the pressures of this world? Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. When the world is crazy and life looks hopeless, remember to turn to God, and sometimes it's just a matter of mind, renewing your mind through prayer, worship, attending church, being with like-minded believers, and do what the scripture says. Don't be conformed to this world, but renew your mind, and it will transform your attitudes, your actions, and your faith. This is Pastor Duncan with USA Heartbeat Radio.
The International Criminal Court in The Hague is contemplating issuing arrest warrants against senior Israeli government and military officials as war criminals. This would be an outrage of historic proportions. International bodies like the ICC arose in the wake of the Holocaust committed against the Jewish people. They were set up to prevent such horrors, to prevent future genocides. Yet now, the International Court is trying to put Israel in the dock. It's trying to put us in the dock as we defend ourselves against genocidal terrorists and regimes, Iran, of course.
Now, many of you have heard the chant from the river to the sea. That's what the Palestinians have been chanting, and it's caught over here in America. That means to genocide the Israeli people from the river to the sea. It means to from a river which they don't even know the name, and it go all the way to the sea, wipe out all of Israel. Now, but the International Court, it's obvious. I think what we're seeing in the International Court, what you're seeing in the New York court, it's no longer justice. It's who's got the checkbooks, who's got the money. People are buying their way to rulings that they want because it impacts future rulings. Because what happens all the time, they say, well, case so-and-so, they'll bring back some historical case to make their point on their perception of a law or an action or a deed that's being questioned in court. The very thing that's interesting with the Trump hush case is Alan Dershowitz, who is a very liberal Democrat lawyer, says what they're doing to Trump, the 2 impeachment hearings, and he's saying this is ludicrous. And the American people are agreeing because Trump keeps going up in the polls. It's almost like it's a gift. Now, it's costing Trump a lot of money and a lot of time, But here is Netanyahu, and he doesn't look very happy with this. And but here's CBN News reporting Israel will invade Rafah regardless of the hostage deal. This is what Newsmax is reporting. See what you think of this report. This is interesting.
Gaza border right now, live look here in the afternoon time. World leaders on the edge of their seats right now as Hamas reportedly deliberating an Israeli ceasefire proposal. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying Israel will not stop until they achieve their goal of removing Hamas from Gaza.
Joining us now with the very latest on Israel's reportedly planned operation into Rafah is our senior correspondent, John Huddy, again standing near the border with Gaza. John, what can you tell us?
Now, you guys can't see this. This is radio. But this guy's standing with a bulletproof vest on with the word press, P-R-E-S-S, very bold, and it looks like reflective letters. I wonder if they get double time pay, because this is obviously a very hostile place he's reporting from. But he's on the border of where Israel says they're going to go in and they're going to wipe out Hamas, since they've said they're going to wipe out Israel. It's check it out.
I'm Sean. I'm right on the border of Gaza. I'm at the Kerem Shalom crossing. This is the southernmost crossing point here in Israel into Gaza and the southern Gaza city of Rafah. I'm hearing a drone overhead, very close, probably within a quarter mile beyond these barricades. This is basically anti-tank missile barricades, RPG, sniper barricades. Just on the other side, to camera right, my left, is the actual crossing, and then that is Rafah, and I'm hearing machine gun fire. We've heard some explosions, which sounds like outgoing artillery and tank cannon fire as well. And then I just want to point this out. On the other side of this field here, kind of no man's land, lined with razor wire, and then the fences in the distance, that's Egypt. And that is a line of humanitarian aid trucks waiting to gain entry into Rafah. Maybe we could show that one more time. As far as
So Egypt has humanitarian aid, and they've offered free passage, but see, Hamas won't allow the hostages to be let loose. But they've offered, hey, if you'll bring the hostages to us, we will provide shelter to them and get them back to their families. That's the interesting thing. So the big deal that's going on right now, hey, we're going to have a negotiation, a deal, if you will. And it keeps getting modified, but if I understand it correctly, Israel's going to let loose thousands of prisoners if they just give 33, I think it was, of the hostages that they're asking for specifically. Many feel the reason Hamas won't give up the 33 is because Hamas has tortured, raped, and brutalized many of the prisoners. I think they're afraid of the stories that they'll tell. See, that's the deal. Hamas, when they went in October 7th, they baked children alive. There's testimony of that. They raped women, and there's video evidence of these women after they've been raped. Then they were killed in front of their husband or fathers, their daughters, and then that's the last memory. Then they would kill the father. Sometimes make the dad live a day or two and then kill him, even though his heart's been ripped out. That's what you're doing. So, some of you college kids are over there waving flags for people that would rape women and bake a child alive in an oven. You think that's somehow a worthy cause? Very amazed at some of the kids. Well, this is the theme song. We've been told it's not official, but we've been told this is Netanyahu and Israel's theme song for Hamas. And nor should they. At some point in time, America, whoever tells you one thing, Israel, it's your country, it's your right. We can give our opinion. But at some point in time, you guys say, we got to defend our people and do what's right for us. And I believe it's come to the point that they're not going to take it anymore. And don't be surprised. It's going to pull us in. And I don't know about you, but I think it was interesting when you saw the missile exchange. You know, Hamas, actually it was Iran, sent the missiles to Israel, and 95 to 98% did not get through the dome. So that was a colossal failure for Iran. But then when Israel shot back, 68 to 70% of theirs hit their targets. Who do you think won that little display of, I gotcha? I think Iran, now if it hadn't been for Biden unfreezing those funds, this would not have happened. But see, when Biden unfreezed those funds that Trump froze, that gave them the resources, gave them this sense of initiative. Plus, you've got to look at Biden. If you're a world leader and you're saying, hey, you know, before Trump gets back in office, let's exercise a little bit of our shenanigans because Biden's not going to do nothing. I don't think he will. Biden just doesn't have it in him. He can't even keep our own borders shut, much less deal with any world conflict. So I think we're going to be seeing that. Anyway, the House is supposed to vote on a campus anti-Semitism bill. Here's some update from Newsmax on that. See what you think.
Vote to advance a resolution aimed at combating anti-Semitism, and it could have a major impact on those protests at universities seen across the country. But the issue is a dividing one for Democrats.
Let's check in now with our congressional correspondent, Kilmeny Dukart. She's been tracking the very latest. Joins us live. Kilmeny, good morning.
Good morning, Emma and Sean. The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act has bipartisan support, but it would change the federal definition of anti-Semitism, making certain language punishable by law. Now, specifically, it will use the definition set forth by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance for the enforcement of federal anti-discrimination laws. Now, Republican Congressman Mike Lawler has put forward that legislation, co-sponsored by Congressman Jared Moskowitz and more than a dozen other Democrats. But moderates and progressives say the IHRA definition goes way too far and would threaten to chill constitutionally protected speech. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries sent this letter to Speaker Johnson urging a vote on a similar bill that would actually have more support from Democrats, saying the effort to crush anti-Semitism and hatred in any form is not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's an American issue that must be addressed in a bipartisan manner with the fierce urgency of now.
Now, that's Hakeem Jeffries, who is, of course, the leader of the Democrats. If they get he would be your next Speaker of the House if the Democrats take it in 2024. But that's a very charming statement he makes here. The effort to crush anti-Semitism and hatred in any form is not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's an American issue that must be addressed in a bipartisan manner with fierce urgency of now. I've got to give, now, I'm sure there's things in there that maybe we don't agree with, but you got to give the Democrats, that's a good statement. To me, that says what's on my heart. And I'm not claiming to be a Democrat at all, but I like to throw compliments when I can. And Hakeem Jeffries, thank you for this statement, sir. That's what's needed in this country. We need some bipartisan healing right now. Everything can't always be hatred and distrust, because that's when you just can't even walk in agreement on anything, and that's not healthy for the country, and it's not healthy. But be praying for the Congress, because it sounds like they're trying to do something. But can this lead to a third world war? This is a CBN about anti-Semitism. See what you think.
Pro-Hamas protests at Ivy League schools have led to anti-Semitic threats and demonstrator arrests. New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis is urging passage of legislation she has introduced, which would strip federal funding from schools that fail to protect students from anti-Semitism. She also wants to pull the visas of foreign students who participate in anti-Semitic protests. Well, joining us with more is Kenneth Abramowitz. He's chairman of Citizens for National Security and author of the book Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife.
Now that's a mouthful. But check this out.
Kenneth, it's good to have you with us. So what do you think of Congresswoman Malliotakis' proposed legislation? Is this the best way to deal with anti-Semitism on college campuses, or do other steps need to be taken?
Well, it's a good start, what she proposed.
I agree. It's a good start. We'll be back.
Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road in Ringgold, Georgia, believes in God, believes in traditional American family values, and believes in using movies to tell the stories of those values. The last Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m., Christ Fellowship Church has a movie night, open to all members of the public that want to come and watch the movie. No admission charge. A free will offering will be taken. Tomorrow night, they'll be showing episodes 1 and 2, season 4 of The Chosen, the highly acclaimed film series telling the life of Jesus Christ. Come, enjoy the movie. No admission charge. The address, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia. Episodes 1 and 2, season 4 of The Chosen. You're invited. We'd like to see you there. Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia.
We feed over 3,000 people one time a month at the Appison Food Pantry. Will you help us raise funds, do food drives, and be in prayer for the Appison Food Pantry? You can help us feed the hungry. Also, we have a homeless ministry that goes downtown and helps those in need downtown in tent cities. Please go to www.appisonbaptist.com. That's www.appisonbaptist.com. Make a generous donation today and help us feed the hungry at www.appisonbaptist.com. God bless, my friend. There's somebody hungry in your world. Do something about it.
My Forever Memories helps to bring you the Macil Duncan Radio Show. My Forever Memories believes in family values, in American values, and we believe in remembering those who have gone before us. We provide a transparent, weather-resistant container that can be attached to a gravesite in which you can put a picture of the loved one who is lying there. You can also put notes, greeting cards. But you see, it's all about remembering those who have gone before us. We believe in memories. We believe in family values, and we remember those family values held dear by the ones who have gone before us. America is important. Our traditional American values are important, and remembering those who have helped us to build this country is important. And that's why we help bring you the Macil Duncan Radio Show. You can find out more about us by going to our website, myforevermemories.com.
Hello, friends. This is Macil Duncan, radio host of the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Check out my new book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. In my book, I talk about the mountain of bitterness, the mountain of division, how to deal with the mountain of fear, the 12-hour anger limit, how you can have peace in a troubled world. Check out my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, wherever you get your online reading. Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith by Macil Duncan.
Welcome back, my friends. It's Macil Duncan, and we are on 96.9 FM. We are back. This is the Patriot Pastor Macil Duncan, and many of you guys probably back in the day, I remember this show, but Welcome Back, Carter. Do you guys remember this? It's an old sitcom, and the theme song just kind of fits the moment. I'll see what you think. Okay.
Place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around.
Because they have changed. It used to be Nuga. Now it's Destiny Media. Welcome back, Carter. So anyway, welcome back. Good to be back on the air here in Chattanooga, locally at the 96.9 FM station. Now, we've got a lot of things happening in Tennessee, but one is the governor has given the right for teachers to have gun permits. So the requirements for teachers to carry handguns has been approved. Background check, of course. They need a mental health evaluation and 40 hours of training annually. But you got to admit that is a step forward because schools are soft zones. We've talked about that. And I'm hoping in the near future we'll even see more of that happening. But what's going on in the school system, my friends, is nothing short of just, I think a lot of us would agree, the left getting too much advantage. They have ruined so much. The going woke, you've heard the term going broke, because America resisted, but they keep coming anyway. Well, here's Jerry Seinfeld talking about this this going broke and how it's ruined comedy in America.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day, most people would go, oh, Cheers is on, oh, MASH is on, oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on, All in the Family's on. You just expected, there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke, well, that's the end of your comedy. They move the gates, like in skiing. Culture, the gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that wherever they put the gates, I'm going to make the gate.
Well, that's Jerry Seinfeld basically saying that they've ruined comedy. And I don't know if some of you feel that the wokeness, look at Disney, it's not the same. When you look at a lot of your shows today, you don't have the comedies like he said. You used to go home at night, there would be some lighthearted comedies that make you laugh. I remember when Last Man Standing was the #1 comedy. And when Donald Trump won the election in 2016, Tim Allen had the audacity to go to the celebration. His show was canceled the next day. They act like it was already in the works. But because he went and celebrated the election of Donald Trump, they made him pay a price. Well, then remember Fox News or Fox Channel picked it up after it was off a year, and it had another, I think, a season and a half or 2 seasons. But it was off for a year, so some of the actors had moved on. And it was hard to bring it back completely. But the sole reason that they took the #1 comedy off the air, and look what they did to Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr did a reboot of her comedy. And all of a sudden, she is ostracized by the cast. Even John Goodman had, and all she did was voice her opinion on who she supported in an election. That's where this country's gone. Wokeness has ruined a lot of things, and it's ruined comedy, it's ruined television, and it's ruined the media, and of course the social media. But here's Gutfeld. He says things in a funny way. See what you think.
It says the politically correct are why comedy's wrecked. Roll it.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day, most people would go, oh, Cheers is on, oh, MASH is on, oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on, All in the Family's on. You just expected, there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people.
Ugh. Cheers is on, MASH is on, All in the Family. He really is 70. Joe, okay, so he's talking about sitcoms. He's not talking really about stand-up.
Yeah.
Do you find that, like, when you come home, he's making a good point that, like, when you turn on, there are no sitcoms that actually are there to make you laugh. They're almost to instruct.
Yeah, I recently saw an episode of The Jeffersons, and I couldn't believe how hard I was laughing. It was really, really funny stuff. But I think what's interesting is that you see the people who speak out against this. It's Seinfeld, J.K. Rowling, Joe Rogan, Dave Chappelle. They have what they call FU money. But it shows you really need to have a lot of money to be able to say F you to what's going on in our culture right now. So, I mean, I know for me, F you money is usually when I see how small the check.
Now, some of you may not like that I played that, but I just wanted you to hear that little bit. That there seems to be a backlash. Now, if you go to the Macil Duncan Facebook page and some others I've posted, where some actors are finally stepping in. Denzel Washington, Sylvester Stallone, Mark Wahlberg, Clint Eastwood. Several of these folks have said they've had enough. They've denounced the Actors Guild in Hollywood, and they're actually starting a non-woke Actors Guild. How about that? And they're trying to create new studios in Nevada, Las Vegas area, and stuff, and just doing away with Hollywood. A lot of them are moving. Sylvester Stallone has relocated his family to Florida. They said they're leaving Hollywood. So what we're seeing here is, I think, a purging, possibly a cleansing. And then I told you how Russell Brand just yesterday, this weekend, was baptized. He announced Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. He was formerly a Buddhist and became born again and was baptized. Mel Gibson's another one. Now, Jim Caviezel has been a Christian for some time, but he's gotten even more serious since he did The Passion of the Christ. If you've heard some of his testimonies on set, how he really became close to the Lord. So it's interesting to see how you're starting to see some of these folks come together, and the writing on the wall is rather amazing. Because if we were to start having actors, and I know this sounds almost impossible to think about, but what if we started having actors that finally said, I've had enough, like Jerry Seinfeld and others, just start speaking out and saying, enough's enough. I'm not going to pretend that that's okay anymore. There's something wrong. Matthew McConaughey even mentioned recently in an interview that there is a initiation process if you're going to be famous in Hollywood. He didn't elaborate, but many folks have said. Now, there's a lot of new stuff coming out on P. Diddy. You may have heard that. P. Diddy is having issues brought about him and his sexual exploits. Evidently, he enjoys. He's a switch hitter. He likes both sides of the equation, if you will, when it comes to the bow chicka bow bow moments. But he evidently pressured some men of color to have sex with him. Some caved and some did not. But Cat Williams went on the Shay Shay podcast and said that he was offered 4 different times $50 million by P. Diddy to have homosexual sex. And his words, not mine. He says, I have a virgin back door and nothing's going up my back door. Okay, that's the way he put it. But he said P. Diddy offered him 4 times $50 million to do that. Now, Lecrae, the Christian rapper, verified that he got invited to somebody's party at Jamie Foxx's, at P. Diddy's, and stuff like that. And you're trying to go make connections. I'm excited to tell you Wendy Bell's coming back to 96.9. I don't want to steal all the thunder, but we'll be announcing more about that. And I'm looking forward. Her and I are going to have an interview. But I love Wendy Bell. I think she's one of the greats on the air today. And I'm looking forward to being a partner with her on Destiny Media and USA Heartbeat Radio. But as you start, getting around these folks that are much further along than I am, actually, that's why Lecrae and some of these, you would go to some of these meetings. But Lecrae said he was always warned, leave by 1 o'clock. There's something about 1 o'clock when all the cray-cray happens. And he said in his testimony, he was downstairs in a studio at one of these fancy folks' houses. And they said, don't forget to leave about 1:15. He said the music started changing. And it was not normal. It was like really freaky music. And he looked at his watch, and he started heading up the stairs. And he goes, there were 2 guys, actors, he didn't mention their names, that were making out. They were naked and doing stuff. He said, I got to get out of here. And he got out. Now, some say, well, Macil, he shouldn't have been there to start with. Maybe not. and I am not advocating going to parties, okay, especially if there's sex parties. I'm just saying this, though. We've got to get out of our bubbles to some degree. Now, let me preface saying I'm a big fan of homeschooling, because I think while kids are young, you do protect them. But you don't just protect them to stay in a bubble. You prepare them outside the bubble. And my advice to parents, put your kids in public sports, put your kids in situations to where they get a little taste of pub, and then you can bring it back, have discussions. Hey, why do they use those words, or why does this or that happen? Because if you try to keep them in a bubble till they're 18, that's going to be a problem. You're going to have to use some common sense here. But everyone's different. I don't know where you live. Some states and cities are so unique. You've got to use great judgment. I understand. But with that said, there comes a time when the kids in adult world have to know how to have what you would call apologetics training. We're terrible at that in the church. We don't teach folks how to engage people. For instance, if we believe homosexuality is a sin, transgender is a sin, okay, all these things are sinful, okay? But yet we don't engage in the political arena of the school board. See, all you preachers out there say, Macil, you shouldn't talk about politics. Well, I'll just sit there and say, I think you should. Why? Because if you don't get your people engaged in the community and to be the salt and light, God called us to be salt and light. Salt's a preservative. Light is to expose. You need to get people like Rhonda Thurman, who is stepping down after 20 years, and she's going to be hard to replace. Good Christians on school boards that go in there and say, listen, that's not happening on my watch. Okay, that is way too far to the degree. It's very anti-Christian. You've got to have someone that says those things, because if you just keep sticking your head in the sand and living in your private bubble, my friend, you will become part of the problem, not the solution. Too many Christians today, in my opinion, have been brainwashed into thinking, well, if I don't see it, maybe it's not happening. Or if I say something, I might get sued. Or, oh, heaven forbid, someone might unfriend me on social media or laugh at me. My friends, I've been mocked, made fun of all my life. When I went to Red Bank High School, they put a T-shirt on my desk and said, Macil's a queer because I wouldn't have sex with a girl. They actually paid a girl in high school to seduce me in the coach's office. I'm in there calling my mom to tell her what time practice is over, and she's half naked. I turned around. She's a very pretty woman. I wasn't going to sit there and have a conversation. I got my stuff, and I booked out of the room. Well, then they said, well, he must be gay. He turned down sex with a beautiful girl. And they had the doors blocked to where we would have had our privacy. See, the bottom line is that they couldn't understand my Christian values at that young age. My parents had taught me, inside the bubble, if you will, of home and in church, how to have values right and wrong. Okay? Not that I was a perfect child growing up. I'm not implying that. But you have to teach your children how to engage the world, because if we don't start teaching our kids, and as adults we continue to learn, we're going to find ourselves being led by the nose or thinking that we can't do anything about what's happening. The defeatism inside the Christian community right now repulses me. And I mean that with all heart. David was outnumbered. And it said he ran to the battle line. He picked up 5 stones when he went against the giant Goliath, because he knew Goliath had 4 brothers. Some people said, oh, he picked up the stones in case he missed. Oh, heck no. He said to line them up. I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you, and I'll take you. See, courage is contagious. If some of you Christians took a dose of courage and started having courage to take stands. I'm not saying being a jerk. I'm not saying go and be unkind to politicians just because they're not going to always vote with you. You know, you got to build bridges. Don't always burn them. But there needs to be courage. You can have courage in a way that's contagious, where folks will say, I want to follow that lady, that man, because I believe in what they're saying. But when you sit around all the time trying to do mental gymnastics to see how you can avoid conflict and how you can avoid being involved with anything, then friend, you're a coward. Courage and coward, it's kind of like oil and water. They don't go well together. Cowards will nitpick at a courageous Christian and whisper about them, try to find fault, and try to get others to whisper about you. They'll never have the courage to come talk to a courageous person. But as a coward, they'll nip around you and try to cause a concern. But then you, having the courage, will find out what they're saying. You go and approach them and say, "Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, ma'am. Did you say thus and thus?" Most of the time, they'll either lie or they try to backtrack and act like they didn't say what they said. What are you saying? Are you a bully? No, heck no. But I don't let people say things that aren't true about me, about my church, or about our country if I can help it. Too many people today don't have it in their heart and mind to fight. If the revolution happened again today, would you bear arms to defend this country against a power that invaded? Or would you say, well, hey, I don't know, I guess we just better let the others take care of it? You know, there's going to have to come a time. That's why I believe in voting. I think the day, it's going to be November 5th, that day you should not plan anything on that day. You should vote and pray all day long for this country. You should dedicate November 5th. That's my day for this country. I go to the voting polls, and I don't mind. I take donuts to the poll workers. I get there early. I take them donuts and snacks. I thank them for their sacrifice for the day, and then after I vote, I hang out a little bit in the commissary area with those on break. I don't disturb them while they're doing their deal, and then I leave and I pray for them. I pray before I go in. I pray while I'm there with my eyes open, and I pray as I leave, and I pray throughout the day for God's will be done. But I was telling my guys this morning in my Bible study, I said, you know, there's sovereign will, which is, it's going to happen. It's God's will. It's going to happen no matter what. But there's revealed will. I'll be talking about this Sunday if you want to check out my sermon. Revealed will is this. This is when it's revealed to you right from wrong because you study the Bible and you realize, this is God's plan or his command how I should live. What is right and what is wrong. See, the world will teach you a perverted view of life. God teaches a pure a way of living. And as you get that, that's called a revealed will. And as he reveals it through his word and you're studying it, you're living a life as best you can according to the revealing of the will of God as you're studying the word of God and the ways of God and trying to live an obedient life. But it's not easy. It's a battle. It is a freaking battle, my friend. And the battlefield's your mind. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, Romans 12:2 says. Transforming your mind, it's a battle. If you're going to be success, you've got to have the mental capacity within you to say, I'm going to sit down. And do you remember every time the devil came at Jesus in the 40 days fasting, he came at Jesus 3 times. He didn't just go against Jesus one time and say, oh, shucks. He went after him 3 times. He tried to twist Scripture. He tried to appeal to Jesus' human parts, his hunger, his thirst. He tried to appeal to power, taking him up and say, hey, if you'll just bow down and worship me, I'll give you all this. The devil he's crafty, my friends. He talked 1/3 of the angels from leaving heaven and following him now into a place we would call hell. Now, I know my Seventh-day Adventist friends, you don't believe in hell, but you need to ask yourself, if Jesus talked more about hell than heaven, hello, you're saying that half of what Jesus said was a lie. Do you really want to say that? I don't think so. Well, we've got a couple of other things to cover here. I got a little preachy there. Sorry for that. Let's how we doing on time. We got a little bit more time. I thought this was interesting. Don't know about you, but this was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris being interviewed recently, and they called Joe father and called Kamala mommy. Check out the trying to appeal to patriotic titles to all these kids broken without family. This I think's hilarious, but this is what they're trying to do. See if you can pick up on it.
When you think about it. Thank you for doing this today. I want to thank you for your compassion. You know, the reason I'm so excited to talk to you was
Joe Biden went on the Howard Stern radio show, and Howard Stern, it's very nauseating, but listen to Howard Stern talk about how wonderful Biden is, and he's like the father of the nation.
because I wanted to understand the tragedy in your life and how you dealt with it. And you're the kind of leader I love, because we're lucky to have you in the Oval Office and serving as the father of the country, because if you're a good father.
Catch that? The father of the country. Listen, this Howard Stern. Sarcastic Howard Stern being very nice and congenial. Very odd.
Because we're lucky to have you in the Oval Office and serving as the father of the country in the Oval Office and serving as the father of the country, 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 because if you're a good father to your family, which you are, I know you'd be a good father to the country, and I want to thank you for providing a calming influence.
Now, this is Kamala Harris on the Drew Barrymore show. And if you go watch it, Drew Barrymore is cuddled up right face to face with Kamala Harris and calls her the mother of the country.
I keep thinking in my head that we all need a mom. I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Wait a minute. And you're the kind of leader I love, because we're lucky to have you in the Oval Office and serving as the father of the country.
But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
No, it is the perspective of a woman who grew up a black child in America, who was also a prosecutor, who also has a mother who arrived here at the age of 19 from India, who also, likes hip hop. Like, what do you want to know?
Well, I want to give you.
Shall we say? So you've got Joe Biden being called the father of the country, and Kamala being called Mama Mala, whatever she called her. Don't you think that's interesting? You have two separate television interviews within a close proximity, and they're trying to create, and because a lot of the kids today, and possibly even displaced children in this country from the immigration, looking for father, looking for mother. Interesting. It's a weird strategy. I never thought we would see the Democrats try to appeal to traditional family value. Think about this. They're always trying to break up the family and make everything, but they're saying, hey, Joe's the father, Kamala's the mother. Those are usually Judeo-Christian values. Man as father, biological woman as mother. Interesting, is it not? I wonder how the trans people feel, and all the people with all the pronouns. I wonder if that just kind of maybe freaks their world out a little bit. You don't know, but here we are getting close to the break. I want to remind you guys, I have a book out, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith That Can Overcome. You can get my book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Lifeway, Thrifty Books, wherever you get your online reading. I paid extra money so it could be available wherever. And Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. I talk about things such as the 12-hour anger limit. You know, the Bible says, be angry and sin not, but don't let the sun go down on your anger. I teach you, if you have anger issues or live with someone, how to deal with a 12-hour anger limit and how to biblically maybe massage that. Also talk about bitterness. If you have people in your family, your life that deal with bitterness, I bring that up. How to have faith in your prayer life. Check it out. Move Your Mountains.
Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road in Ringgold, Georgia, believes in God, believes in traditional American family values, and believes in using movies to tell the stories of those values. The last Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m., Christ Fellowship Church has a movie night, open to all members of the public that want to come and watch the movie. No admission charge. A free will offering will be taken. Tomorrow night, they'll be showing episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen, the highly acclaimed film series telling the life of Jesus Christ. Come, enjoy the movie. No admission charge. The address, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia. Episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen. You're invited. We'd like to see you there. Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia.
This is Macil Duncan, the pastor at Appleton Baptist Church. Our purpose statement is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. We have a food pantry, a homeless ministry, Awanas, children, senior adult, all ministries for all ages. Come join us. Go to www.appisonbaptist.com. Check out the Appleton Baptist Church. We feed over 3,000 people one time a month at the Appleton Food Pantry. Will you help us raise funds, do food drives, and be in prayer for the Appleton Food Pantry? You can help us feed the hungry. Also, we have a homeless ministry that goes downtown and helps those in need downtown in tent cities. Please go to www.appisonbaptist.com. That's www.appisonbaptist.com. Make a generous donation today and help us feed the hungry at www.appisonbaptist.com. God bless, my friend. There's somebody hungry in your world. Do something about it.
Welcome back, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and this is the Macil Duncan Radio Show, broadcast live Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. here in the Chattanooga area. I read this earlier, but did you know massive 78% of majority of Americans believe social media companies have gone too much and have too much political power? Now, what's interesting about this is the Democrat view on this has grown. Okay? Now, the Pew Research Center released on Monday that there is consensus from both sides of the aisle, 84% Republicans and 74% Democrats, so it makes an average of 78%. But understand this, the Democrats were at 62% at 2020. They have climbed 12 points in seeing social media having power to help influence an election. So that is interesting because that's something Republicans have been saying for some time. Well, here's the other thing that has just eventually Democrats are winning over. Over half of Americans support a mass deportation of illegal immigrants. This was interesting to me in that, again, Donald Trump, day one, he came down the escalator announcing he's president. One of the first things he did, he went down to the border, put on a white hat, make America great again. He talks about building a wall. And immediately, the left went nuts. Well, the left has come around. Over half of Americans now support mass deportation of illegal immigrants. And as I was seeing this, that's 51% of those that can vote. But listen to the generations. Now, Gen X, the baby boomers, 60%. You know, they're still, you know, they love America. Gen Xers are at 53%. Okay, millennials 48%. I thought they'd be a little higher, but anyway, that's right, 50%. But check this out: Gen Z is at 35%. Now, Gen Z back in 2020, only 5% believed in border security. It's up now to 35. That's a 30% increase in 3 years of Joe Biden, seeing that we have problems with the border. The other I thought was interesting, and I mentioned Gen Z, 35%. So millennials and Gen Z are coming around to seeing that we've got a crisis here. This all leans favorable to, Donald Trump. Now, Blaze Media brings up that there's a shocking number of voters that are open to election fraud. I thought this was interesting. A new Heartland Rasmussen survey further illustrates how widely polarized America has become, but it also raises key concerns about the security of U.S. elections. A new survey by Heartland Institute and Rasmussen Reports shows more than 1 in 4 likely voters said they would break election laws in 2024 if given the opportunity. Now, this is conservatives and liberals that said they would break election laws if they could to get their person elected. That's how desperate people feel. Now, back when Trump won in 2016, the Hillary Clinton people said he stole the election. When Biden got the election in 2020, many feel he stole the election. Savvy? So they've done a great job of getting folks on both sides to feel their vote doesn't count, to doubt, distrust, etc., because it keeps the voter turnout down. If we all said phooey to you and we said we're all going to vote no matter what, even if you try to use stacked ballots, mess with the machines, I'm going to show up and vote. Well, there seems to be a problem, and Stephen A. Smith from ESPN, he sees it for what it is. He thinks the Democrats are afraid of a straight-out vote against Donald Trump.
To my liberal friends out there, all you're doing is showing that you're scared you can't beat them on the issues and the merits. That's why he keeps saying it's a political campaign against me. That's why he keeps saying they can't beat me at the election, at the polls. This is the only way they could do it. And if you don't put him in jail, and he still goes from being the presumptive GOP nominee to the official GOP nominee, and he goes to the polls, even though he was going to whine about winning and being rigged again, you have given more fodder to that argument, which means we'll never have peace in this country, because tens of millions of people see what extent the other side is willing to go through just to keep him out of office, because they can't beat him on their own merits. And they're going to say, hey, you trumped this up against him again, and we'll have no peace, when all you got to do is figure out a way to beat him on the issues. But you haven't been able to do it.
So that's Stephen A. Smith, a left-leaning sports commentator on ESPN. Now, just so you know, Donald Trump was always not always disliked. As a matter of fact, The View back in, was this 2003, was talking about how wonderful Donald Trump. Joy Behar, listen to Joy Behar. That tells you what a blowhard liar she is. I'm sorry if that sounds a little labeling.
Who's mad? Donald Trump. Joy said the guy wears a toque.
He says that it's his own hair. So I believe him because I believe
What?
Donald. He's an upstanding American. So I believe him because I believe Donald. He's an upstanding American.
That was Joy Behar. Did you hear her? Now they're talking about his hair. Is it a toupee or not? And here's Joy Behar again saying, I believe Donald Trump. He's an upstanding American.
He says that it's his own hair. So I believe him because I believe
What?
Donald. He's an upstanding American. So I believe him because I believe Donald. He's an upstanding American.
Joy Behar, one time, at one time in her life, thought Donald Trump was an upstanding American.
But America doesn't believe him. We've gotten, a letter poured in yesterday.
You can't make this up.
I'm asking, is that really his hair? Oh, my God.
The man.
And Donald Trump makes an appearance. This is 2003. And they're going to pull his hair to see if it's real.
Okay, you ready? Come in. Just check it out.
No, it's true. It's
Playing
real.
with his hair.
Not very pretty, but it's real.
They're all pulling on Donald Trump's hair, laughing with him, joking. He sits next to Joy Behar. You would think they were buddies from high school.
I believe, yes. And I believe I could give you lots of examples, but if you're known as a...
Now, this is in 2012. He's on the show, okay? His hair's changed a little bit.
patsy, if you're known as somebody that takes it, I think it's terrible.
But the ad hominem attacks, those really are not effective.
This is 2012. Now, Whoopi Goldberg's on set and Joe Behar. Listen to them in 2012 talking to Donald Trump like he's a human being.
Personal attacks, like you're fat, you have no talent, all the things he says.
Why aren't they effective? Donald's been doing them.
Well, because he's in a leadership position. I'm not sure that that's an effective way to attack your opponent.
Strange thing has happened over the last couple of years called Twitter. And I have this account with millions of people.
Right.
And I've got all these, and I used to say I want to own a newspaper. This is better.
You recently said about President Obama, I'm going to quote you.
This is 2011. He's on The View.
Grew up and nobody knew him. Nobody knows who he is until later in his life. The whole thing is very strange. What are you driving at there? Are you a birther, Donald?
Okay. Something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh, my God.
That's a terrible
that is
thing
just
to say.
Whoopi, I'm telling you.
He was 3 pounds.
Donnie, I love you. I'm telling
I love
you.
you too.
Donnie, I love you. I'm telling
I love
you.
you too.
And Whoopi says, I love you too.
I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages.
They all used to love him, bruh. Everybody loved Donald Trump. Nobody had a problem with that man until he ran for president.
And that's the truth. Now, this is Donald Trump being interviewed. If you guys remember back in 1980, asked if he would consider running for president.
For some people, the ultimate goal in life has been becoming the President of the United States. Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the president who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Most people who are capable are not running for office. Most men are frightened of politics today.
It is a shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a shame. The most capable people are not necessarily running for political office, and that is a very sad commentary on the country. They had major corporations and they had this and that, but they are not running for political office.
Why wouldn't someone like yourself run for political office? You
Why would you not want to run? Listen to his answer. Honest answer here.
have all the money that you possibly need. You've accomplished a great deal, even though you are only 34. I know there's a lot of things that you possibly can do in the years ahead. Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life.
Now, this is back in 1980. He said it's a very mean life. And is he actually seeing it big time?
I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular.
Did you catch that? Views that may be right, but may be unpopular. Listen again. This is Donald Trump, 1980.
Somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile.
And it shows a picture of Joe Biden. So it makes you realize that there is madness in the world, if you will, and Donald Trump is winning in the polls, and a lot of folks are acknowledging that, but Nancy Pelosi seems to have a problem with it.
I know some of them will always reject those of us who might look different to them in leadership or the rest, and that's that. But there are those who have real legitimate concerns about immigration, globalization, innovation, and what does that mean for their job and their family's future? And we have to address those concerns. And Joe Biden is doing that, created 9 million jobs in his term in office. Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
He had the worst record of any president. We've had other concerns in our country. If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine. And
I
he
don't
has
think
the
that
worst.
anybody can accuse me of
and
that.
MSNBC being an apologist for Donald Trump? Nancy Pelosi lost it.
This is your Fact Check Moment by Macil Duncan Radio. Did you know Rules for Radicals was written by Saul Alinsky? He dedicated the book to Satan. He said the first successful rebellion ever was when he took 1/3 of the angels from hell, from heaven to hell. Here are the 8 things. He said if you can control health care, create poverty, increase the debt unsustainable, control all guns, then put people on welfare, control education, and keep religion out of the public square, and create, number 8, a class welfare state, then you can control any country. These 8 things are in the Rules for Radical book that was nothing but satanic jargon. Be wise, my friends, because he trained Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and many others you deem as leftist heroes. Check it out. This is a Fact Check by Macil Duncan. Hello, friends. This is Macil Duncan, radio host of the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Check out my new book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. In my book, I talk about the mountain of bitterness, the mountain of division, how to deal with the mountain of fear, the 12-hour anger limit, how you can have peace in a troubled world. Check out my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, wherever you get your online reading. Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith by Macil Duncan. Hey friend, do you feeling the pressures of this world? Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. When the world is crazy and life looks hopeless, remember to turn to God, and sometimes it's just a matter of mind, renewing your mind through prayer, worship, attending church, being with like-minded believers, and do what the scripture says. Don't be conformed to this world, but renew your mind, and it will transform your attitudes, your actions, and your faith. This is Pastor Duncan with USA Heartbeat Radio.
October 7th, we in Israel were painfully divided.
We rarely agreed on much because we're Jews, we're Arabs, secular and religious, left and right. Even more rare would be Israelis praying the same prayer. But now, after October 7th, we're united that we want our hostages back home. Isn't it not time for all of us to pray the same prayer?
And that's an Israel news station I have found. I've been enjoying these little clips. It's called All Israel News, and if you want to go check it out on YouTube, All Israel News, and they brought up a good point. They said they've never been united like they have now. Hamas attacking Israel October the 7th has united Israel. The liberal and the more conservative they go on to talk about. There are Muslim Arabs that live there, stuff, but all that live within Israel have united because they want to see hostages released, and Hamas has done something that that sometimes terrorists don't realize. They unite the people they attack. There's something called the term sleeping giants. You may have heard that, and I'm afraid that the church is going to wake up too late if we're not careful and not understand that we have got to respond before the Lord maybe lets things happen. Now, it's very obvious right now, the One America News, Biden is the least popular president in 70 years. Okay? He has now earned that officially, and that's a CNN poll, by the way, that reported that. So there's a lot of issues out there dividing. and one is transgenderism. And the Blaze Media, they have a divine dream leads a troubled teen to reject trans ideology. Looking back, Ariella Krause knows she was helped long before she had a dream by being exposed to the truth and not just what we think should be or should make us happy. She's a sophomore in the fall of 2022 at Carlisle High School in Iowa when she went to bed one night and she cried out to God, and she saying she was going to kill herself unless he showed her he was real. This is the Blaze Media now. If you want to go check out the article, it's a rather interesting story, and she goes on to explain how she cried out to God, and through that dream, he revealed herself. And the thing she was battling with is because at school they were trying to make her feel like she was a transgender or the wrong sex, and she realizes that dream and that calling out to God spared her. So that's interesting. But federal appeals court rules West Virginia and North Carolina must pay for transgender health care. I don't know if you knew that, so this is going to be appealed, I'm sure. But a federal appeals court on Monday ruled West Virginia and North Carolina must pay for transgender health care. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled 8-6 in a case involving coverage of gender-affirming care by North Carolina State Employees Health Plan and the coverage of gender-affirming surgery by West Virginia Medicaid. The case is likely headed to the U.S. Supreme Court. West Virginia Attorney Patrick Morris vowed to take his fight to the Supreme Court, and we'll see where this heads. But the transgenderism, even though when you go woke, you go broke, Bud Lighting, the American people have spoken, Target, Budweiser, Starbucks, you just go down the list. Everyone that pushed this in the last 2 years have regretted it. The NFL never completely apologized, but they've seen a pick because they broke away from the wokeness. This last Super Bowl was probably one of the most patriotic pregame shows that you've seen. They had flags everywhere. The national anthem was being sung, hummed, and everything. Why? Because they said, we better quit pushing other national anthems, and we better quit pushing kneeling at the flag. We better start acting like we live in America and we're proud to freaking be here. And that's what happened. But you're seeing this type of agenda, and it's causing a lot of disharmony and a lot of disunity. The Daily Wire has more states file flurry of lawsuits against Biden's new rule of transgender Title IX rules. If you haven't heard, he used the Secretary, I believe, of Education to try to initiate and change the law. You can't do that. The laws have to be written and go through Congress and Senate and be voted on. So he's going to lose this. But in the meantime, because you've got the heavy-handed DOJ and the bully FBI bidding to the lip-lock liberals of Biden right now, they're trying to make it to where anyone that denies a guy that wants to play in girls' leagues, somehow that they're violating Title IX and you're not. And so I look forward to seeing that getting battled in the court system. But as I played for you earlier, Nancy Pelosi snaps back at Kathy Tur on MSNBC because she fact-checked in real time. She was talking about Donald Trump's job numbers being the worst ever. And she just mentioned there was a pandemic. But Pelosi failed to claim that Biden's created 9 million jobs. This is a bold lie. Joe Biden created 9 million jobs in his term in office, Pelosi said, wagging her finger. Donald Trump has the worst record job loss of any president. That was a global pandemic, Katie Kerr tried to interject, and that's Pelosi flipped out. He had the worst record of any president we've ever had in our country, according to Jobs. But Katie Tur interrupted. I don't think anyone can accuse me of that I am being a Donald Trump supporter, which Pelosi said. Millions of people going back to work after the pandemic ended is not job creation, though. That's what was said. She's trying to take a fact that during the pandemic, people stayed home. They're trying to act like everyone that went back after the pandemic were job creations. No, these were jobs people had. They were working from home, or they were put on leave and rehired. So it's all a game. That's what, the elections are nothing but game and fodder. Who can spin it the best? It's spin. Well, the one quick thing I thought I'd warn you parents, Satanic Temple seeks to introduce ministers in Oklahoma public schools. If a chaplain bill becomes law, Satanic Temple has announced it has plans to deploy its ministers as chaplains in public schools across the state following the House recent legislation. Senate Bill 36, which permits the presence of volunteer chaplains within educational institutions, has passed the House and now awaits Senate approval. Oklahoma, currently under Republican control in both the legislative and executive branches, might see the bill enacted as soon as November if it passes the Senate. The proposed bill stipulates rigorous checks for those aspiring to be a chaplain. Background checks mandatory, and individuals with history as registered sex offenders or felony convictions are disqualified. So this is going to be interesting. Will there be satanic chaplains? They say they're fighting this. And I've got a friend that's a hospice chaplain, and he says there's actually satanic. There are some. There's satanic in the Army now. They have chaplains. There are satanic chaplains in the Army. Okay, all aspects of what you would call pastoral roles, they are now trying to influence satanic ministers, is what they call them. And they say, "Hail Satan," and they pray to Satan and Lucifer. America, you need to wake up, my friends. There's going to be a need for us to vote and be wise in our voting and in who we support, because I'm telling you, it's coming. Now, I mentioned earlier the cost of gas. Gasoline surges again under Biden, up 18% in just 4 months. You can go to Gateway Pundit and read about that. It's rather disturbing to a lot of folks. And confirmed federal government giving voter registrations to non-citizen refugees. Got a congressman that says in the Social Security office, when you go to get you're petitioning for citizenship and etc. and government vouchers and payments, one of the things they put in the packet is a voter registration to illegal aliens. My friend, this election's going to be a doozy, and I think we all know it. So something for you to consider and pray about for the sake of the country. Quickly too, now it's the United States that gets caught persecuting Christians. I read this article earlier, but I thought I'd just touch on it quickly again. This is sad. American culture is increasingly hostile to people of faith. Persecuting Christians used to be something we heard about in China, Pakistan, maybe Islamic nations over in Africa, hotbeds in the Middle East. But now we're seeing it more in America. Okay? The Washington Stand, the report, the Washington Stand explains now international religious freedom organizations are monitoring religious freedom conditions in the United States, and it's easy to see why. There's the Center for Religious Liberty and the Family Research Council added to the publication this statement. Sadly, American culture is increasingly hostile to traditional Christian beliefs. And they cite in Colorado, when they attacked the cake guy. He didn't want to do cakes for homosexual couples. So he was allowed to be sued and taken all the way up to the Supreme Court, if you remember. And they tied him up and pretty much bankrupt the guy. And that's what they do. They come after you because they have unlimited funding behind them. That's why, if you can, support these Christian lawyer firms that on the flip side take up Christian causes and helps defend them. So anyway, interesting stuff. You can go check out the article. It's on the Gateway Pundit. And I think it's something for us to take note of and take heed, because it's coming, my friend. Christians are going to have to deal with being if you want to call it, ostracized or being picked out, bullied. And we're going to have to say, I've got to acknowledge that there's a good chance if I stand for Jesus Christ, I may have to stand up and take some punishment for it. And I know a lot of folks don't like that. We live in a world of convenience. We live in a world of please accept me. We live in a world of low self-esteem, supposedly. But I believe some of you have more moxie than you give yourself credit for. And like I've got this football here. It was signed by the Carolina Panthers, and I was pastoring in Charlotte. Jake Delhomme, a lot of popular players. We'll be back.
Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road in Ringgold, Georgia, believes in God, believes in traditional American family values, and believes in using movies to tell the stories of those values. The last Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m., Christ Fellowship Church has a movie night open to all members of the public that want to come and watch the movie. No admission charge. A free will offering will be taken. Tomorrow night, they'll be showing episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen, the highly acclaimed film series telling the life of Jesus Christ. Come, enjoy the movie. No admission charge. The address, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia. Episodes 1 and 2, Season 4 of The Chosen. You're invited. We'd like to see you there. Christ Fellowship Church, 1176 Three Notch Road, Ringgold, Georgia.
We feed over 3,000 people one time a month at the Appleton Food Pantry. Will you help us raise funds, do food drives, and be in prayer for the Appleton Food Pantry? You can help us feed the hungry. Also, we have a homeless ministry that goes downtown and helps those in need downtown in tent cities. Please go to www.appisonbaptist.com. That's www.appisonbaptist.com. Make a generous donation today and help us feed the hungry at www.appisonbaptist.com. God bless, my friend. There's somebody hungry in your world. Do something about it.
My Forever Memories helps to bring you the Macil Duncan Radio Show. My Forever Memories believes in family values, in American values, and we believe in remembering those who have gone before us. We provide a transparent, weather-resistant container that can be attached to a gravesite in which you can put a picture of the loved one who is lying there. You can also put notes, greeting cards. You see, it's all about remembering those who have gone before us. We believe in memories. We believe in family values, and we remember those family values held dear by the ones who have gone before us. America is important. Our traditional American values are important, and remembering those who have helped us to build this country is important. And that's why we help bring you the Macil Duncan Radio Show. You can find out more about us by going to our website, myforevermemories.com.
Hello, friends. This is Macil Duncan, radio host of the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Check out my new book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. In my book, I talk about the mountain of bitterness, the mountain of division, how to deal with the mountain of fear, the 12-hour anger limit, how you can have peace in a troubled world. Check out my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, wherever you get your online reading. Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith by Macil Duncan.
Our new poll, which was conducted by SSRS, finds Trump is leading Biden, who has ample work to do with his base and with independent voters who are breaking to his GOP rival. In a head-to-head race, 49% of voters say they'd pick Trump for president, compared to 43% for Biden. That's a 9-point Trump advantage with independent voters. And add in third-party candidates, and Trump's lead jumps even more. He has 42% to Biden's 33%, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gets 16% of the vote. Our poll also underscores the challenges of incumbency and that voters, 4 years later,
good,
have a better view of Trump's presidency compared to Biden's.
So the new poll coming out is showing that Donald Trump has a 6-point lead, which is this is a CNN poll, so it's probably worse than this. But when you throw all the candidates in, Trump at 42, Biden drops to 33, Kennedy at 16%. Okay, if Biden's 33 and Kennedy's at 16, that means if you could combine Kennedy and Biden, that would be 49. But see, they can't do it. And then West, the crazy man, 4%, and Stein, Jill Stein, the Green Party liberal that got arrested over the weekend trying to pretend she's part of the protest. So this is what's going to be interesting, I think, as we move forward. Ross Perot pretty much handed Bill Clinton the election, because if Ross Perot had not won, many feel that Bush would have got his second term. But a third-party candidate can siphon away, and if I'm not mistaken, Ross Perot gained 12% of the popular vote. Bill Clinton did not win by a popular vote. He just outbeat Bush. Bush, I think, came in at 39%. You put 12 in there, and then whatever. Clinton won 41%, something like that. It was, but they said if it had not been for Ross Perot, most of them would have voted Bush. Savvy? But he was an oil baron. He didn't like Bush. He hated the Bushes. So that's one reason why Bush Sr. lost the election. He also made the stupid statement, "Read my lips, no new taxes," and he agreed to a tax increase. So he was constantly being called a liar that he said, "Read my lips," and he raised taxes. And the famous looking at the watch during the debate, he kept looking at his watch when he was at the debate, almost appearing like he didn't care to be there. Anyway. But Trump at 42, Biden 33, Kennedy at 16, West at 4, and Stein at 3%. So a lot of folks see that as an interesting thing. And as the race is coming down to the wire, it's not. I know there's 5 months, and the reason I say 5 because early voting starts usually 30 days out. So with November 5th being voting, October 5th, or somewhere early October, will actually be when folks do early voting. That puts the election down to 5 months or so. But here's Bill Barr, and he's voting for Trump, even though he and Trump really don't like each other. They had a bad parting of the ways.
I have to ask you about something that Trump posted about you this week, because he responded in response to you saying you'd vote for the Republican ticket. Wow, former AG Bill Barr, who let a lot of great people down by not investigating voter fraud in our country, has just endorsed me for president despite the fact that I called him weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy. Based on the fact that I greatly appreciate his wholehearted endorsement, I am removing the word lethargic from my statement. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. It's classic Trump. What's the question?
What's your response?
Well, I mean, obviously, what I said was that I'm very disappointed that this country is stuck with this choice between two people who I don't think either of them should be president of the United States. But given that binary choice...
Did you hear that? I don't think either one should be president of the United States. Now, don't forget, Bill Barr's father hired Jeffrey Epstein and gave Jeffrey Epstein his first job teaching children in a school, a private school. So there's ties between the Barrs and the Epsteins. And Bill Barr's father wrote a book that was very pro-pedophile back in the day. Why in the world was Bill Barr ever around the Bushes or the Trump administration? I don't know, but I don't think we'll make that mistake a second time.
I feel I have to choose Trump.
See, that wasn't so hard.
As between Biden and Trump, I will vote for Trump because I believe he will do less damage over the 4 years. Trump, I will vote for Trump. Between Biden and Trump, I will vote for Trump. Trump, I will vote for Trump. In Biden and Trump, I will vote for Trump. In Biden and Trump, I will vote for Trump because I believe he will do less damage over the 4 years. I believe I believe we're facing the most dangerous situation.
So what's that telling you? Bill Barr, who worked in the Trump administration his last 2 years because Jeff Sessions ended up being not able to handle the attorney general role, so they bring out the fossil Bill here, but for Bill to say he's going to support Trump, he's the lesser of the two evils, is the way he's putting it. I think deep down he knows in his heart of hearts that Donald Trump is a sincere guy. He keeps his word. He just hates the fact that Donald Trump's such a straight shooter. This guy is a liar.
Situation we've ever faced in the world. A lot of it invited by Biden's weakness.
Come on, man.
And to have Biden out there for the next 4 years, given all the threats we face, including handing the keys to the nuclear weapon to Iran.
He pretty much goes on to trash, and I think rightfully so, that we've got a situation where we've got a president here in that's pretty weak to a point. He said they won't debate. Well, now he's saying he will debate, and this is Jen Psaki, his former press secretary, kind of being mocked on CNN. Check this out, by a colleague mocking Jen Psaki about how she would handle it.
I'm curious for what Jen Psaki's reaction would have been like if she was still in the White House when she heard President Biden blurt out during a live interview that he was going to debate. Because Biden folks don't want him to debate. They don't want to give Trump that platform and risk exposing Biden like that on national TV. It is. They don't want to give Trump that platform and risk exposing Biden like that on national TV. It is.
Oof. Except I was thinking if I was in my own.
This is Jen Psaki responding to pretty much being challenged about would she encourage Biden to debate Trump.
If I was in my old job from 2 years ago, you also don't want him to say no because no is weak. Because no is weak. Because no is weak. Because no is weak. And no is fear. So you have to say yes.
So Jen Psaki said for him not to debate would appear weak. But Joe Biden was on a talk show with Howard Stern, and he admitted he would have to agree to the debate. And he says he doesn't know when and where just yet. Because Donald Trump said anytime, anywhere, any day, I will debate you. Now, that's going to be interesting. Now, I'll tell you what I'd love to see happen. I would love to see Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and Joe Rogan moderate a debate. And throw in Rachel Maddow, send some crazy liberal. Most of the time, the debates are ran by liberals, and they go after the Republican candidate, and they softball the liberal. I really wish you'd have a fair, and I think Tucker would be fair. I think Tucker Carlson would make a great debate. And by the way, Tucker Carlson will be on the Moms for America podcast. I think they just released that, and we'll get more information tomorrow when Maria Wagner, Moms for America, is on every Wednesday. She'll be joining me and Jolene Carter from Virginia tomorrow, and getting Jolene's opinion about what's going on in Virginia. Got some crazy stuff there, especially Virginia University when they had to crash the riots that were there. It got a little out of hand. Pray for America, my friends. It's not done. We still have a country. We still have a great God, and we still have a great future. Don't believe the hyperbole that there's nothing we can do. We can vote. We can pray. We can get involved. Join your PTA. Get involved in your local politics. Go to church. Build camaraderie. Build bridges. Pray and say, hey, listen, on my watch, I am going to do my best to help my country, at least the section that I live in, live according to the Word of God and the Constitution. You can do that. You can be a voice. I think God's got a plan for all of our lives. And it's, again, that sovereign will versus the revealed will. You can find his revealed will when you reveal it through studying the Word of God. Think about it. I'll be back tomorrow.